Chapter 60. Demon Girl. At this time, the man holding the sword roared. His eyes were ruthless and vicious as he stared at the fox girl. "Who are you?" The fox girl stopped smiling and asked innocently. "I am Zhenhu." "Zhenhu?" The fox girl was shocked, and her tail was raised. "Do you know this uncle's name?" The man's eyes flashed a trace of astonishment. The fox girl shook her head. "I don't know." "You?" The man was so angry that he almost rushed forward. After a while, he held back his anger. "I ask you, why did you kill my brother? When did your brother die?" 3 months ago." 3 months ago? The demon girl thought for a moment and shook her head. "I don't know who your brother is. I have killed too many people. If they are not particularly famous, I can't remember who I have killed." "Damn!" The man gritted his teeth and was ready to move. "Brother Zhenhu's brother. You have not heard of him, but have you heard of us, the 7 brothers of the horizon?" At this time, the man holding the spear shouted, "Of course I have heard of them." The fox girl smiled. "They are only at the 5th stage of the spirit core realm. You are going too far." The man holding the spear growled, "I heard people say that my brothers were walking on the street, but they were innocently beheaded by you. Why did you kill them?" "They looked at me." The fox girl shrugged and said, "They even spoke rudely and molested me. Because of this?" The man holding the spear obviously could not accept it. "Of course." The fox girl smiled and said, "It's fine if they looked at me, but they actually dared to take liberties with me. I had no choice but to kill them all. When I killed the 7 brothers of the horizon, I discovered that one of them was still missing. I didn't think that you would come to me." "That's good. I'll immediately send you to reunite with your brothers." As her voice fell, the fox girl immediately moved. She took the initiative to strike first. Her tender hand moved to her waist, and a red dagger flashed with a strange light. Her palm swayed and directly stabbed towards the man holding the spear. "Demon Girl, do you really think that you are capable? We've already made ample preparations for today's battle. We'll make sure you die here." As his voice fell, the person holding the spear unleashed a mystical skill. His feet stomped on the ground, causing the earth to tremble. A huge stone wall appeared in front of him, blocking the fox girl's attack. The other 2 took out a pitch-black ball and held it in their hands. They closed their eyes and quickly chanted. Trapping formation. The fox girl suddenly stopped and gave up her attack on the man holding the spear. Her pair of seductive eyes stared at the other 2 people, and the corners of her mouth slightly pursed as she said, "Evil spirit array. After being used, it can restrict the magic power of the person who is facing it. It can seal their chi meridians, making it impossible for them to use Xian skills and greatly reduce their strength. Once it is reduced to a certain extent, the person who is being supported by the array will even fall into a deep sleep and faint." "Ah ha ha ha. It seems like you have a good understanding of this array." Zhenhu laughed. "In order to deal with you, the 3 of us went through a lot of trouble to create this formation. Demoness, you won't be able to escape this time. Once we use this array to subdue you, we will waste your cultivation and train you to become our slave. Oh, seeing that you still have a bit of beauty, we won't kill you so quickly. Once we have played with you enough and tortured you enough, we will then behead you and let you suffer endless pain before you die." The man holding the spear gloomily said, his eyes filled with endless lust. When the fox girl heard this, her face revealed a horrified expression. "How can you deal with a weak woman like me? You know fear? Humph, it's too late. Take this, Demoness." Zhenhu roared, and together with the man holding the blade, they threw out the black balls in their hands. The 2 balls collided and quickly fused into one, then spread out, turning into a huge net that flew above the fox girl. It continued to spin, and circle after circle of black light overflowed from the net towards the fox girl. However, the fox girl didn't panic in the slightest. Her hands moved lightly, and her fingers changed as she formed several hand seals. The sword dress that covered her body emitted circles of red light that blocked the black light. As for her, she was completely unaffected by the black light. Step by step, she approached Zhenhu and the man holding the blade. "What?" The 2 people were shocked. "You're not affected by this trapping array? Insignificant skill. Why do you want to show off in front of an expert?" The fox girl disdainfully smiled, her eyes full of laughter. However, she suddenly raised her hand again, and the short sword that was clasped in her tender and fair little hand slashed towards the sky. A sword intent that was several feet long burst out, and like a sickle, it instantly tore the so-called trapping spell formation in the air. Pucci, Jinhu and the man holding the blade, who were still supporting the array, suddenly felt a backlash. They spat out a mouthful of blood and hurriedly retreated. Both of their faces were pale, but before they could react, a short sword appeared in front of them. The two of them only felt a flash before their eyes, and the world began to spin around them. Hooting, two heads flew into the air. Blood spurted out like a pillar. The man holding the spear stared at this scene in a daze. He looked at his companion, who had come with him to seek revenge, being beheaded by the opposite party in front of him. Were they too weak? No. The three of them had known each other for dozens of days, so they had an understanding of each other's strength. It was impossible for them to be weak. But why was it that they could only meet face to face with this demon girl? There was only one explanation that could explain the situation. This demon girl was too strong. Your strength is too weak. Why do you still dare to come and give your head to me? The fox girl's soft white tail gently swayed under her sword skirt. She then turned around and smiled at the man holding the spear. Then, "It's your turn, Pucci." The sound of a sharp blade cutting through flesh resounded. On the side, Su Yun, who wanted to take advantage of the chaos to escape, stopped and quietly waited on the side. Fifth stage spirit core disciple. This kind of existence was enough to kill several Su Yuns. However, in front of this fox girl, he could not even withstand one move. Moreover, there were three of them. With the trapping array, everything was ready, but still ended up like this. What kind of cultivation did this fox girl have? Su Yun was startled. Moreover, she said she would kill without the slightest hesitation. He was afraid that there was a powerful force behind her. The Su family was not considered strong, but they did not dare let others ignore their huge connections. The Su family had connections with various sects and forces, comparable to Blossom Heart Valley. But even so, the Su family did not dare to offend the Immortal Sword sect. After all, although the Immortal Sword sect connections were not as good as the Su family's, their strength was unprecedented. But even with the Su family support, no one in the Su family dared to go around killing people. In fact, although the Su family was not as good as the Immortal Sword sect, the Su family was going to use Qing Air to form a marriage alliance with the Profound Sky sect. If that was the case, the Immortal Sword sect would not be a problem. One Profound Sky sect was enough to make the Immortal Sword sect suffer. Which force was behind this fox girl? It seemed like he could only follow her wishes and bring her to the Su family. Anyway, she was looking for the Su family, not him. What was there to be afraid of? Su Yun made up his mind and no longer wanted to escape. After the fox girl killed the three people, she didn't stop. Instead, she arrived in front of the corpses of the three people and stabbed the short sword in her hand into their hearts. Immediately, the blood-red sword emitted a gurgling sound. A large number of blood vessels appeared on the sword, and the corpses that were stabbed by the sword began to corrode at a speed visible to the naked eye. Seeing this, Su Yun's heart sank. That sword was not something that the Sky Martial Continent could produce. Such an evil charm, and could absorb the essence of people, he was afraid that it could only be produced in the Demon Continent. Are you not afraid? At this time, the fox girl smiled and turned to look at Su Yun. Afraid? Su Yun said. Oh, then why do you look so calm? I'm probably born with a slow reaction. Su Yun casually said. The fox girl froze for a moment, then covered her lower abdomen and giggled. You're too interesting. After the fox girl's sword absorbed the blood of the three people, the two continued on their way. Cruel, sinister, vicious, black-bellied. This was Su Yun's evaluation of the fox girl. It seemed that in her heart, everything could be done as she pleased, and nothing could be restrained. Right, what's your name? At this time, the fox girl who was walking in front suddenly asked. Me? Su Yun was startled and thought about whether he should report his real name or not. If he reported his real name, she would come to the Su family to seek revenge, and he would not be able to escape. But if he reported a fake name, when he returned to the Su family, he would be exposed. At that time, he would annoy this person, and with her temperament, he was afraid that it would be difficult to escape the fate of being beheaded. After thinking about it, Su Yun decided to gamble. It was better to report the truth. After all, even if she came to the Su family to seek revenge, it should have nothing to do with him. He was just a small outer sect disciple. His strength was humble, and his status was low. Looking for trouble would not be able to find him. Thinking of this, Su Yun took a deep breath. My name is Su. Look, isn't that the Su family? Just as Su Yun was about to say his name, the fox girl suddenly ran forward a few steps, smiled, and interrupted Su Yun's words. In the distance, there was a few meters high wall. Behind the wall, there were many tiled buildings. On the wall, there were a lot of flags, and on the flags fluttering in the wind, there was a huge black word, Su. Yes, that's the Su family. Su Yun nodded his head. Haha, finally arrived at the Su family. The fox girl's eyes were filled with joy. Ignoring Su Yun, she quickly walked forward. Looking at her appearance, it did not seem like she was looking for trouble with the Su family. Su Yun was relieved. His mouth revealed a little bitter smile, and he also quickened his pace. The trial was over, and he had disappeared for so long. He was afraid that the Su family would think that he was dead. Others would not care about him, but the Yu Yang siblings would be very worried, especially Qing Er. Su Yun's heart was very worried. He was a little afraid that this girl would do something stupid. Soon, the two of them approached the Su family's gate. Hey, open the gate. Quickly go and inform your patriarch. Tell him that the Ying sect's protector, Hu Qianmei, is here to see him. Quickly open the gate. The fox girl called Hu Qianmei walked to the Su family's gate and shouted with a clear and bright voice. Another almighty being. The two outer sect disciples who were guarding the gate heard this and looked at each other in dismay. They had just sent away an elder of the Immortal Sword sect, and now another protector of the Ming Ying sect had arrived. At this time, Su Yun walked over. When the two outer sect disciples saw him, their faces suddenly turned white. One of them rubbed his eyes with all his might. When he was sure that he was not mistaken, he extended his hand and pointed at him with a trembling finger. He said in fear, Su Yun, are you dead? Su Yun? Hu Qianmei suddenly turned around and stared at the person who was walking over. Her charming eyes flashed a trace of doubt. You are Su Yun. Chapter 61. Looking at Hu Qianmei's happy expression, Su Yun's heart started to beat faster. An ominous premonition rose in his heart. You said you're the protector of the Mingying school? He secretly took 2 steps back and whispered. Yes, Hu Qianmei said with a smile. Then your purpose for coming to the Su family. Is it to find Su Yun? Yes, Hu Qianmei nodded. Her small hand slowly touched the dagger on her waist, but the smile on her face did not diminish. Why? Are you looking for Su Yun? Su Yun secretly swallowed his saliva and whispered. Heavenly crystal. Hu Qianmei slyly smiled and said, hand it over and I will spare your life. You are here for the heavenly crystal? Yes. Hu Qianmei directly pulled out the dagger and placed it on Su Yun's neck. She smiled and said, quickly give it to me. Who knew that after she said that, Su Yun would be relieved. He looked as if he was relieved of a heavy burden. What are you laughing at? Seeing this person's relaxed smile, Hu Qianmei curiously asked, oh, nothing. Su Yun smiled and said, it's just that the heavenly crystal is not with me. Then who is it? I naturally won't say that. Then I have to kill you. Hu Qianmei indifferently said. All right then. Su Yun did not care. He shrugged and said, anyway, if I die, no one will know where the heavenly crystal is. Since you want to kill me, then I will give you my rotten life. AI, it's a pity that a treasure will be forever buried in the darkness. After he said that, the dagger on Su Yun's neck was immediately withdrawn. Then, a fragrant body squeezed into his arms. Handsome brother, what are you talking about? How could I hurt brother? I like brother more than enough. Hu Qianmei had a shy look on her face as she said shyly. Seeing this, Su Yun hurriedly urged the everlasting stone to guard his mind. This fox spirit was really powerful. Her face changed faster than the sky. 1 second, she was murderous. The next second, she was like a lover who charmed him. But Hu Qianmei slyly smiled and added, "If I don't get the heavenly crystal in 5 days, then I don't want it." As she spoke, the little girl's fair little finger lightly tapped on the hilt of the strange short sword. A threat. This was a blatant threat. How could he not hear it? However, he did not expect that this terrifying little girl would actually come looking for him, and her purpose was the heavenly crystal. How did she find him? How did she know that I have the heavenly crystal? Su Yun was filled with questions. He was confused, but what he needed to consider was not this problem, but how to deal with this powerful and ruthless existence. He did not want to lose the heavenly crystal. Once the heavenly crystal was lost, then the arranged plan would be disrupted again. There was not much time left. Without the heavenly crystal, all of his efforts would be in vain. Just then, the two guards at the side finally regained their senses. One of them mustered up the courage to step forward and bowed to Hu Qianmei, then said with a slightly trembling voice, This elder, please wait a moment. This lowly one will go inform the patriarch right now. And Su Yun, you also wait. Do not run around, you understand?" With that, the guard broke into a run and ran towards the outer sect. It seemed like he really thought that he was dead. Su Yun thought about it. He should think of a better reason. If the truth was reported, then the heavenly crystal would be very difficult to cover up. Having this fox know was already enough of a headache. If the Su family also knew, then he would really be in trouble. Moreover, entering the Su family's ancestral tomb was also a capital offense. According to the Su family's rules, he would be executed. Looking at your appearance, it seems like you have some secret hidden from the Su family. Hu Qianmei glanced at Su Yun and spoke again. Su Yun did not speak. He lowered his head and pondered for a moment, then asked, "How did you know that I have the heavenly crystal?" A slut said it. Hu Qianmei's face slightly changed as she snorted. "Slut?" Su Yun's heart sank. "Who is it?" "What?" Hu Qianmei asked. "You don't even know who that person is?" "GG. Aren't you being too careless? You have a treasure, yet you don't even know that you are being watched? I am just a little spirit intermediate disciple. In that case, quickly give me the heavenly crystal, otherwise I will make you wish you were dead. If you want to force me, then just kill me. Anyway, you can't get the heavenly crystal. Of course, you can also torture me. But if you torture me, I will use my profound spirit chi to shatter my own heart and commit suicide. When that time comes, you could forget about obtaining the heavenly crystal," Su Yun lightly said. After Hu Qianmei heard this, her face slightly changed. She secretly snorted, "I will only give you 5 days to consider. Between the heavenly crystal and your little life, choose one." Su Yun did not say anything. After waiting in front of the Su family's outer sect gate for about an incense stick of time, the Su family patriarch once again led the Su family's higher-ups, Su Shilong, and the person in charge of the outer sect who had one arm cut off. The Minging school was not a weak sect, although it was not as strong as the Immortal Sword sect, but the experts of the Minging school were all very strong. Hu Qianmei was known as the Absolute Fox Sword, and was famous in the Julian district and Great Sian district. It was rumored that the Absolute Fox Sword was ruthless, his methods were cruel, and anyone who he could not stand, he would kill without a care, causing him to have enemies all over the world. However, the Minging school turned a blind eye to this matter, and even provided protection for the Absolute Fox Sword. No matter how many people came to seek revenge, they were either killed by the Absolute Fox Sword or blocked by the Minging school. Because of this, the reputation of the Minging school could be said to be stinking. But it was worth it. After all, the strength of the Absolute Fox Sword was obvious to all. The most important thing in a sect was the experts. Without experts, how could a sect be called a sect? After the Su family patriarch rushed over, he saw the 11 or 12-year-old little girl, Hu Qianmei, and was stunned for a moment. It was the first time for many people to see Hu Qianmei. Looking at this cute little girl with a strong sense of charm, many of the people present did not believe that this little girl was the rumored female demon who killed without batting an eye. The Su family patriarch stepped forward and bowed respectfully. Then, he started to talk to Hu Qianmei. The two of them talked for a while. The Su family patriarch started to ask about the purpose of her visit. Luckily, Hu Qianmei was alert and did not say that she was looking for Su Yun. She said that she was here to borrow some items that were not considered expensive. She diverted the attention of the group of people and requested to stay for a few days. After the Su family patriarch heard this, he readily agreed. After inviting Hu Qianmei in, the Su family patriarch turned his head and stared at Su Yun. "You're Su Yun?" The Su family patriarch's face turned cold. There was an unfathomable luster in his eyes. Reporting to the patriarch, "I am." Su Yun said indifferently, but his heart was trembling. He tried to control his emotions and make himself appear more natural and stable. "Some people said that they saw you die in Marshallbone Mountain. Why are you still alive?" "I encountered some fortuitous encounters and managed to survive." "Is that so?" The Su family patriarch said, "Bring him to the military hall. I want to personally question him." After saying this, he turned around and walked inside. Main house. In a slightly secluded small garden, a young girl wearing a blue Blade Master robe sat quietly in the garden. She stared at the flowers in the garden. Her eyes were lifeless, as if she had lost her soul. The young girl's face was haggard, her eyes were red, and there were even traces of tears on her face. She was motionless. The atmosphere in the garden became strange. "Kacha!" At this time, the door to the garden was gently pushed open. Su Mo Sha stepped in. Looking at the young girl sitting next to the flower garden, he frowned. "Miss, it's time to practice the sword. Hurry to the martial field," Su Mo Sha said in a low voice. However, the young girl turned a deaf ear and remained motionless. "Miss," Su Mo Sha's voice became somewhat impatient. "Tell the patriarch. I don't want to practice anymore. In the future, I don't want to practice anymore." Qing Er's hoarse voice emerged. Lifeless, powerless, just like a moan. "Do you know what you're doing?" Su Mo Sha was thoroughly annoyed. He coldly snorted again and again. "The Su family has spent so much energy, manpower, and financial resources to train you. Do you think it's all in vain because you gave up? Don't even think about it. Quickly follow me to the martial field. Quickly." "I don't want to go." You're just a despicable maid. Now that you've become a phoenix, you have a temper?" "Qing Er, I'm telling you, if you continue to act like this, the patriarch will deprive you of everything. He will make you go back to the outer sect and continue to be a maid. It doesn't matter." Qing Er bit her lower lip and whispered, "You." Su Mo Sha was so angry that he could not speak. Bang! At this moment, the door was pushed open again. Then, a maid in emerald green clothes ran in quickly. Miss, he's back, miss, he's back." The maid's face was filled with joy. However, when she saw Su Mo Sha standing in the door, she immediately became scared and did not dare to move. "Why are you making such a fuss? What a scandal!" Su Mo Sha's face turned cold as he shouted at the maid. The maid was so scared that her whole body trembled, and she almost kneeled on the ground. However, Qing Er raised her slightly red eyes and looked at the maid. She asked who came back. The maid looked at Su Mo Sha with some fear. She then looked at the extremely haggard Qing Er and softly said, "Su, young Master Su Yun." Hearing this, Qing Er's delicate body trembled. She suddenly stood up and stared at the maid. She anxiously asked, "Xiao Chui, what did you say? Who came back?" "Su." Bang! Xiao Chui's body was ruthlessly kicked to the ground. The young girl's whole body twitched in pain as she rolled on the ground. "You dog thing! What nonsense are you saying? Quickly get lost!" Su Mo Sha roared. "Su Mo Sha, you're presumptuous." Qing Er was thoroughly annoyed and angrily shouted at Su Mo Sha. "What? Miss, I'll help you teach a lesson to this nonsense slave. Is that not enough?" Su Mo Sha snorted. "Do you want to die?" Qing Er's hand was already on the sword at her waist. However, Su Mo Sha was not afraid. He sneered again and again. "If you have the ability, then draw your sword. But you have to consider the consequences. Let's see if the one laughing in the end will be you. Or me." When Qing Er heard this, her complexion changed. Finally, her jade fingers that were tightly grasping the sword's hilt loosened. She walked over and lifted up Xiao Chui, who was clutching her stomach in pain. She whispered, "Get lost. Oh, hurry up and go to the martial field. If you miss the hour, I will have to report to the patriarch. Su Mo Sha chuckled and turned around to leave. Chapter 62. Qing Er injected some profound spirit qi into Xiao Chui to stabilize her injury. Then, she sent her to the main house's medical hall. Although Mo Sha casually kicked her, for Xiao Chui, who did not cultivate profound spirit qi, it was almost a fatal move. Xiao Chui did not die. She was really lucky. After entering the medical hall, Qing Er quickly arranged for the spirit doctor to treat her. Xiao Chui, who was in extreme pain, grabbed her hand. Miss, you go quickly. I am fine. Go find young Master Su Yun. Young Master. Qing Er pursed her lips. She was a little reluctant. However, her heart was more worried about Su Yun. She did not know how the young master was after returning from Marshall Bone Mountain. Was he injured? Qing Er's eyes turned red. After thinking for a while, she got up and said to the spirit doctor, "You must cure Xiao Chui. If there is any mistake, I will punish you." "Yes, miss." The old spirit doctor quickly nodded. With that, Qing Er quickly left the medical hall. At the same time, in the inner sect of the Su family, under the leadership of the Su family's patriarch, the outer sect and the inner sect had already entered the military hall. They had just received Hu Qianmei. According to Hu Qianmei's request, they gave her the things she needed. Although the things she needed were expensive, it was a favor. Naturally, the Su family was willing to sell it. Of course, Hu Qianmei also requested to stay here for a few days. The patriarch did not refuse. After entering the military hall, everyone sat down. Su Yun, who had been waiting outside the military hall, was brought in. Outside the military hall, there were 4 guards dressed in mid-level green armors. In their hands, they were holding high-level green weapons. These guards were incomparable to the outer sect guards. They had already reached the 7th stage of the Spirit Intermediate Disciple Realm. They were considered as the elite guards of the inner sect. Everyone was focused and did not dare to slack off. There were more than 10 people sitting inside the military hall. They were the inner sect's chief steward Su Shilong, the financial steward Su Minghe, the administrative steward Su Xiaofeng, the military deacon Su De, and the inner sect elite lecturers Xian Cho and Zhang Hao. The rest of the outer sect's upper echelons and deacons were unable to come to this place. If Su Yun was not an outer sect disciple, they might not even be able to step through the door. "Greetings, Lord Patriarch." Su Yun walked in and scanned the people around him. His gaze finally landed on the patriarch, Su Zhengxiong, who was at the very top. The Su family elder had a future. After all, this was only a matter of the outer sect. If Hu Qianmei did not come, perhaps the patriarch would not even ask. Su Yun secretly clenched his fists, restrained the strange feeling in his heart, and quietly stood there. Su Yun. At this moment, the clan leader opened his mouth. His voice was heavy and emotionless. "Yes," Su Yun replied softly. "Let me ask you, at Marshall Bone Mountain, what happened in the end? Why did someone personally witness you being killed by the silent death devil on the cliff? But you're standing here all right?" Not only that, the Immortal Sword Sect's 3rd clan elder Long Xian Li specially came here to find you. Why, you and that elder Long, what kind of relationship do you have? Su Li Xiong did not beat around the bush and went straight to the point. Long Xian Li came to find him? Su Yun was secretly shocked. Why was this woman looking for him? Could it be that she knew that I have the heavenly crystal? Su Yun's mind was in a mess, but what he needed to do now was to deal with the patriarch's questions. Before the plan was implemented, he could not beat the grass and scare the snake. Moreover, he still needed to stay in the Su family. If he wanted to leave, he would have to bring Qing Er with him. After thinking about it, he calmed himself down and said, reporting to the patriarch. That day, Su Yun was indeed being chased by the silent death devil. His life was hanging by a thread, and he was trapped on the cliff. Su Yun was very afraid. He did not want to be killed by the silent death devil, so he decisively jumped off the cliff. Fortunately, there was a river in Marshall Bone Mountain. After falling into the water, Su Yun was lucky enough to not die, but his body was very weak. He could not leave Marshall Bone Mountain on time. After being trapped, Su Yun wandered around Marshall Bone Mountain and found a river that led to the outside of Marshallbone Mountain. Then, he followed the river to leave Marshallbone Mountain and return to the Sioux family. Coincidentally, I met Elder Fox at the gate. Marshallbone Mountain was huge. Although it was a forbidden area for the Sioux family, the enchantment of the Sioux family could not cover the entire mountain. It was not surprising that there was a river that led out of the mountain. After Su Xiong heard this, his thick eyebrows twisted together. His pair of incomparably serious eyes quietly stared at Su Yun, as if he wanted to see through him. Su Yun only felt a bit of extremely obscure, profound spirit qi silently acting on his body. It was also quietly peeking at his own state of mind. Hua. At this time, the everlasting stone that was hidden in his clothes began to gently move. It overflowed with a warm current and protected his heart, allowing it to stabilize. The everlasting stone not only had the effect of increasing one's talent, but it could also calm one's mind. It helped to guard one's mind. It was truly a divine object. Su Yun secretly sized up Su Xiong. Seeing that he did not discover the existence of the everlasting stone, he quietly let out a sigh of relief. Su Xiong's expression was calm. His eyes were still staring at Su Yun. After a moment, he opened his mouth and said, "Is it really like this?" "Yes." Su Yun's face did not change. Su Xiong lowered his head in silence. Both sides exchanged glances, but no one spoke. Then, at this time, Su Xiong raised his head again, regarding the matter of the Immortal Sword sect's third elder, Long Xianli. "What do you explain it?" "Long Xianli claimed that you stole something from the Immortal Sword sect. I want to know, what did you steal from them?" "Stole something from the Immortal Sword sect?" Su Yun's pupils shrunk. His nerves instantly tensed up. It seemed that Long Xianli really did discover that he had something to do with the heavenly crystal. Presumably, the reason why she left the Sioux family was because she heard that he had been sent to Marshallbone Mountain. However, Long Xianli would definitely not tell the Sioux family about the heavenly crystal. Otherwise, it would be even more impossible for her to find the heavenly crystal. Since it was like this, after she knew that Su Yun had died, she would definitely tell the Sioux family that it was a misunderstanding, because she was not sure if Su Yun was really dead or not. If he was not dead, the Sioux family would definitely force Su Yun to explain the matter. At that time, the matter of the heavenly crystal would be hard to hide. At this point, Su Yun secretly heaved a sigh of relief and decided to take a gamble. He did not know if his analysis was correct or not, but out of all the excuses, this was the most likely one. Immediately, his face revealed a look of realization. "Oh, this is just a misunderstanding. Just a misunderstanding." When I left the Sioux family, Su Yun went to Mirror Lake Town to buy some things. Elder Long was also there. After all, Mirror Lake Town was managed by the Immortal Sword sect. Su Yun was fortunate enough to have some connections with Elder Long. It just so happened that she lost her purse that day. She thought I took it, but it was really unjust. Sirs, with Su Yun's cultivation level, how could he dare to provoke the Immortal Sword sect? When I first saw Elder Long was as beautiful as a fairy, I looked at her a few more times. I did not expect to be misunderstood by her. It was really unjust. After saying this, Su Yun sighed. "Is it that simple?" Su Xiong asked. "Su Yun's words are true. Sirs should also know that I do not have the courage to provoke the Immortal Sword sect." Su Yun quickly said, "That's true. With your cultivation level, if Elder Long wanted to kill you, it would be as easy as flipping her hand." Su Long said from aside, "Outer sex trash. Should not be so bold." Another person said. Su Yun did not say anything. Su Xiong was silent. He kept his head down in thought. The atmosphere became somewhat strange. The entire military hall was incomparably quiet. Su Yun did not dare to be too calm. His two hands would occasionally grab the hem of his clothes. If he was too calm, it would make people suspicious. If he was too flustered, it would make people suspect that he had a guilty conscience. Fortunately, his current actions were just right. Although his words were not very clever, but what could really convince people was this kind of lukewarm and ordinary words. At least, it was reasonable. "All right, I got it." At this time, Su Xiong raised his head and expressionlessly said, "You came back from Marshallbone Mountain. I believe you are tired. Go and rest." Yes, Patriarch. Su Yun will take his leave. Su Yun bowed and quickly retreated. After he left, the higher-ups were still sitting there. Everyone's expression was different. Some people bit their lips as if they wanted to say something, but they hesitated. Finally, Su Lixiong opened his mouth. Do you think what this child said is true or false? Although it sounds very mysterious, this kind of thing is not impossible. Xin Cho, who was sitting on the right, said, the Su family's Marshall Bone Mountain is only a small part of the entire Marshall Bone Mountain range. Besides the Enchantment Gate, there are many other roads that can leave Marshall Bone Mountain range. What Su Yun said is reasonable. As for his contact with Elder Long, I also think it is reasonable. Otherwise, with his weak cultivation level, how could he dare to go to the Immortal Sword sect? That's right. This person's cultivation level is low. Even if he had 10 guts, he would not dare to do such a thing. Zhang Hao, who was next to him, also agreed. However, the intersect financial supervisor, Su Minghe, had a puzzled look, but this Su Yun is strange. Does anyone have any impression of him? It is said that some time ago, when he was undergoing the strength test, he was only a 6th-stage spirit novice disciple. But today, after observing his aura, I feel that he has improved a lot. It seems that he is almost at the same level as a spirit intermediate disciple. Strength test? Su Lixiong suddenly thought of something. His eyes turned and stared at Su Shilong. He asked, Shilong, is this the Su Yun from the intersect? Su Shilong quickly got up and nodded. Patriarch, yes. Didn't they say that this person's cultivation level has been stagnant for 8 years? Why did his cultivation level suddenly increase? I'm not clear about this. Su Shilong shook his head. Su Lixiong pondered for a moment and whispered, I always think that among these two people, one of them is deceiving us. These two people? Yes, Su Yun or Long Xianli. Su Lixiong stood up and whispered, let someone watch Su Yun. Carefully observe his every move. If there is any movement, quickly report to me. After that, Su Lixiong turned and left the military hall. Farewell, Patriarch. Everyone quickly got up and bowed to the departing figure. Outside the military hall, under a big tree, a figure glanced over and then quietly left. Chapter 63. Seems like Su Lixiong has already noticed me. Su Yun, who returned to the wooden hut, looked a little worried. He had to behave himself for the next few days and not attract their attention. Otherwise, many things would not be able to proceed. The shabby house was still the same as before. There was a broken table, a broken bed, and a cabinet with a missing leg. Because no one had entered for a long time, the table was covered with a thick layer of dust. Su Yun casually cleaned up, then went inside to set up a small array to cultivate. However, before the array was completed, there was a knock on the door. Su Yun roughly guessed who it was and hurriedly opened the door. Sure enough, it was the Yu Yang siblings. Big brother Su Yun. When the Yu Yang siblings saw that Su Yun was unscathed, they were extremely excited. Xin Yu's eyes were brimming with tears as she covered her mouth and cried, Brother Su Yun, I missed you so much. Xingyang hugged Su Yun tightly with his thick arms, causing Su Yun to be unable to breathe. After a while, the two of them finally stopped crying and went into the house to talk. The two of them were extremely happy. If they were not asking Su Yun where he was feeling unwell, they would observe if he was injured anywhere. Su Yun's heart was moved. Towards the Yu Yang siblings, he did not hide anything. The two of them would not betray him. So he told them everything that he had seen and heard from Su Tianlong. When the two of them found out about this fortuitous encounter, they were both shocked and sighed. Especially when they found out that Su Yun had already entered the 2nd stage of the Spirit Intermediate Disciple realm, they were shocked speechless. In just half a year's time, he had jumped from the 6th stage of the Spirit Novice realm to the 2nd stage of the Spirit Intermediate realm. What kind of speed was this? Even the strongest genius in the history of the Su family would not be able to do this. In fact, they did not know that Su Yun's innate talent had been restored. With the support of the Everlasting Stone, it would be strange if his cultivation speed was not fast. By the way, Xinyue, Xingyang, I have something to give you. Su Yun opened the storage ring and rummaged through it. Storage ring? When Xian saw the dark yellow ring on Su Yun's finger, she covered her mouth in surprise. Brother Su Yun, how come you have a storage ring? I took a mission in Mirror Lake Town and bought it with some money. Su Yun laughed. Accepting quests to earn money? Xian and Xingyang looked at each other. Both of them felt as though they did not recognize Su Yun anymore. After fiddling with it for a while, Su Yun took out a large pile of blood jade crystals from his storage ring and placed them on the table. With a crashing sound, they piled up like a small hill. Counting them, there were at least a few hundred of them. New Moon and Star Sun were instantly petrified. Big Brother Su Yun, this is the blood jade crystal? Xingyang's tongue curled up, his voice trembling. That's right. Su Yun nodded. Why are there so many of them? Xian reached out her trembling hand and picked up a piece. It was true. She was completely dumbfounded. These were stolen after killing Su Nanyi. Su Yun whispered. When the two of them heard this, they couldn't help but recall the scene of the masked man who had suddenly attacked and killed Su Nanyi. Suddenly, a chill ran down their spines, and they began to tremble. So, the person who killed Su Nanyi was you, Big Brother Su Yun. Big Brother is a spirit intermediate disciple. Killing Su Nanyi would not take much effort. The two of them no longer dared to think of Su Yun as the cripple who only knew how to drink and gamble. They realized that they might not be able to help Su Yun much in the future. However, this did not affect the relationship between the three of them. Su Yun pointed to the blood jade crystal and said, New Moon, Xingyang, these blood jade crystals are enough for you to go to Su Shilong and exchange them for contribution points. You will get 2 qualifications to enter the inner sect. What? Xingyang was surprised. Big Brother Su Yun, you want to give them to us? No. We can't take them, Big Brother Su Yun. You should exchange them for the qualifications. New Moon hurriedly shook her head and said, I can't enter the inner sect. Su Yun thought for a moment and said, Why? There are many reasons. It's hard to say. However, these blood jade crystals are specially prepared for you. If you can enter the inner sect, it will be very easy for you to do things. You can also look after me. I have offended many people in the inner sect. If I go to the inner sect, it will not be peaceful. But don't hesitate. Hurry up and take it. Su Yun said. Seeing that Su Yun was so persistent, the brother and sister hesitated for a moment, but finally agreed. Big Brother Su Yun, if you need any help, you must tell us. Even if we go to the inner sect, we will definitely help you. New Moon earnestly said. Silly girl. Su Yun could not help but laugh. You have already helped me enough. The two of them continued to talk. After 2 hours, the door of the small, shabby house rang again. Do. Su Yun frowned. In the Su family, other than New Moon and Xingyang, he really did not know anyone else. The three of them stopped talking. New Moon and Xingyang looked at Su Yun. Su Yun frowned, got up, and ran to open the door. The door opened. A girl wearing a yellow Blade Master robe stood at the door. The girl's long hair was like a waterfall. Her body was exquisite. She was not even 15 years old. She had bright eyes and white teeth. Her eyebrows were like distant mountains. She was very beautiful. Compared to Su Yun, Xian was like a firefly compared to the bright moon. However, the girl's eyes were slightly red. Her tears had not dried yet. Her complexion was very haggard. After seeing Su Yun, her tears could not help but fall. Her tear-stained appearance made people feel pity for her. Young master, Qing Er choked with sobs. Her tears could not be stopped. Then, she fell into Su Yun's arms and sobbed. Qing Er. Su Yun's voice was somewhat hoarse. Both of his hands held the girl tightly, as if he did not want to let go for even a moment. Seeing this, the girl cried even more fiercely. Her tears wet Su Yun's chest. Her shoulders constantly twitched. After a while, she stopped crying and carefully looked at Su Yun with her red eyes. Young master, are you okay? Qing Er sobbed. It's okay, Qing Er. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Su Yun laughed. It's good that you're okay. Thank the heavens. Master and Madam must have appeared and blessed the young master to come back safely from Marshallbone Mountain. Qing Er turned around and prayed a few words to the sky. Su Yun did not know how Qing Er felt about him, but without a doubt, he did not want to lose this girl. The Yuyang siblings were stunned for a moment. The cheerful Xianu immediately ran over and laughed a few words. Then, she invited Qing Er to come in and sit. Seeing Qing Er's haggard appearance, Su Yun's heart ached. The girl was travel-worn. From main house, she had rushed here without stopping for even a moment. Although she did not speak much, it was clear that she valued Su Yun very much. After entering the house, Qing Er carefully looked at Su Yun. After confirming that Su Yun was really okay, she carefully took out a purse from her belt. However, not waiting for her to hand over the purse, Su Yun looked at her with a serious expression. Young master, keep it for yourself, Su Yun said. Qing Er bit her lower lip and did not say anything. Kacha kacha kacha. At this time, the sound of the spirit stallion's iron hoof sounded. The sound was getting closer and closer. When it was near, the sound of the iron hooves stopped. Only the neighing of the spirit stallion could be heard from outside the house. Su Yun lived in a small, shabby house in the outer sect of the Su family. Who would come here? Su Yun frowned. He felt that the profound spirit qi outside the house was also rich and messy. It seemed that there were many people in the spirit intermediate realm. Intersect people? Su Yun got up and planned to go outside the house to see. Young master. At this time, Qing Er pulled him. Su Yun looked at the girl and saw her wiping the tears from her eyes. Her face was firm and her voice was somewhat hoarse. I'll go out and see. Seeing the girl stagger up, her whole body did not have much strength. Her face was still tired. Su Yun felt a tingling pain in his heart. All this time, she was the one who shielded him from the wind and rain. All this time, she was the one who risked everything to protect him. Since the death of her parents, she alone shouldered everything and faced everything. Did she have to continue like this? Su Yun grabbed Qing Er's hand. Qing Er was stunned for a moment. She turned her slightly red eyes and looked at him with astonishment. Rest here for a bit. I'll go take a look. Su Yun took a light breath and smiled. But, young master. Qing Er wanted to say something, but she saw Su Yun step forward, open the door, and walk out. How could Qing Er and the Yuyang siblings be at ease? They also hurriedly followed him out of the door. When they went out, they were really shocked. Outside the house, there were more than a dozen armor guards riding on spirit stallions. Each of the guards had an intersect disciple order hanging on their waist. Their waists were either carrying a blade or a sword. Each of them had an unkind expression as they stared at the person who came out. The spirit stallions were neighing. The hooves of the horses were stamping chaotically. Dust was flying everywhere. It was a clear sign of killing intent. The inner sect guards are the ones who truly protected the Su family. The outer sect guards were a group of soft-footed shrimps. They had not even experienced a few real fights. Su Yun glanced at the people riding the spirit stallions. His eyes fell on the person riding a white spirit stallion at the front. Su Mo Sha. On the first day of Su Yun's rebirth, he was the man who warned him to stay away from Qing Er. At this moment, Su Mo Sha was condescending. He looked at Su Yun with a contemptuous gaze. The depths of his pupils were filled with pity and disdain. Miss, it seems that my advice to you did not work, Su Mo Sha said in a deep voice. His tone was very arrogant. Su Mo Sha, what are you doing here? Qing Er came forward and glared at Su Mo Sha. Qing Er had just arrived, and Su Mo Sha had already followed. She was afraid that he was monitoring Qing Er. She saw Su Mo Sha holding a braid and slowly said, In the beginning, in the small garden, I told you to go to the martial field to practice. In the end, not only did you not go, but you also came here to see your waist of a young master. The practice time was set by the patriarch. You did not practice on time, which is a violation of the patriarch's rules. Now, quickly follow me back to the main house to accept your punishment. Otherwise, you will betray the Su family. I have the right to kill you. As the last word fell, Su Mo Sha's eyes were filled with killing intent. Su Mo Sha, don't go too far. Qing Er secretly clenched her teeth. Go too far, Su Mo Sha sneered. This is according to the rules. How is this bullying? With that, he waved his hand. Take the young miss back. Also, outer sect disciple Su Yun. Obstructing the young Mrs. Practice will also be punished. Drag him to the outer sex prison for 10 days. Let him taste the calamity of prison. Yes, Senior M.O. Shah. The inner sect guards shouted loudly, and then uniformly flipped off their horses and walked towards Qing Er and Su Yun. Crescent Moon and Xing Yang were anxious and wanted to make a move. However, they heard Su Yun suddenly shout, "Stop!" The guards were startled. Su Mo Shah frowned. An outer sect waste. What are you afraid of? Make your move. After the guards heard this, they did not hesitate and directly rushed forward. Kung Chong. Suddenly, a slender sword flew out from the sword sheath on Su Yun's back. He did not say a word and fiercely slashed at the foremost guard. The guard turned pale with fright and retreated. He hastily pulled out a broadsword from his waist to block. Clang! The broadsword was cut in half. The guard's arms trembled. He felt that this outer sect disciple's spirit aura was incomparably vigorous. It was so terrifying that it made one's hair stand on end. Was this really an outer sect disciple? The guard shuddered. Bang! A foot fiercely kicked towards the inner sect disciple. The sole of the foot ruthlessly stepped on the armor. The inner sect disciple suddenly flew out and fiercely fell to the ground. He was already confused and could not get up. Seeing this, Su Mo Shah's eyes flashed a trace of astonishment. The inner sect guards were also shocked. They saw Su Yun's sword pierce the ground. The sword chi swept away the surrounding dust. His face was gloomy. His eyes were like a hungry eagle staring at these people. If you want to die, then come. Chapter 64. The scene was somewhat strange. Xinu and Xing Yang quickly ran to Su Yun's side and pulled out their weapons to support him. Qing Er was already shocked. Young master, when did he become so brave? She looked at Su Yun in a daze. She felt that all of this was fake. Because of the loss of his talent, he lost his confidence. He drank and gambled all day. He ignored the affairs of the world. How did he become so different from usual? Moreover, every month, he always complained about the small amount of spirit coins she gave him, but he suddenly did not want them. What happened to the young master? Thump! Thump! Su Mo Shah urged his horse forward a few steps and approached Su Yun. He did not dismount and continued to look at the person in front of him with a condescending gaze. You want to rebel? Su Mo Shah lightly said. I have no such intention. Su Yun replied. Then you dare to rebel? Su Mo Shah coldly snorted. The killing intent in his eyes became more and more intense. He suddenly pulled out his sword from his waist. The sword trembled and pointed straight at Su Yun. He said, obediently surrender, otherwise. On the spot, I will behead you. Su Mo Shah, if you dare to touch me, today, you will be turned into ashes. Not even your bones will be left. Do you believe me? Su Mo Shah heard this, and his eyes flashed. He snorted. What strange word are you saying? Could it be that you, Su Yun, can kill me in one move? I can't. Then who can? Su Mo Shah laughed. He saw Su Yun raise his hand and point at Qing Er. Su Mo Shah froze for a moment. Then he immediately burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha. A woman who was once a servant? Ha 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 ha. This is too funny. Su Mo Shah laughed until his tears flowed out. After a long time, he stopped laughing. He stared at Qing Er with an extremely contemptuous and disdainful look. His mouth rose and revealed a sneer, not to mention that her strength is not as good as mine. Even her current status is not in my eyes. She wants to kill me? Oh, if you have the guts, then let her try. Ha 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 ha. This time, not to mention Su Mo Shah, even the inner sect guards began to laugh. Their laughter was full of ridicule and contempt. Most probably, even they knew that Qing Er's title as a young lady was just a name without any substance. Qing Er did not say anything, but her hands were already clenched tightly, as though she was enduring. On the other hand, Xinu and Su Xingyang's faces were already flushed with anger. They could not wait to rush up and slaughter Su Mo Shah. But at that moment, Su Yun spoke again. He shouted in a loud voice, "Of course she can't kill you. However, there's someone who can easily take your life." Who? Could it be the two wastes standing next to you? Su Mo Shah narrowed his eyes and smiled. Damn it. Xingyang was about to explode, but Su Yun stopped him. Su Yun gave him a look, then shouted, "Of course it's not them. It's Minging School's right protector, Hu Qianmei. His voice was very loud, as if he was afraid that Su Mo Sha could not hear him. Then, he said, not long ago, Qing Er and Hu Qianmei met. The two of them were like old friends at first sight and have already become sworn sisters. She came here to see me and was accompanied by Hu Qianmei. If Qing Er went to cultivate and neglected clan elder Hu Qianmei and angered the Ming-Ing school, causing the Ming-Ing school to become enemies with the Su family, can you bear the responsibility? Therefore, Qing Er is not only not guilty, but also has the merit of friendship. What nonsense are you talking about? Su Mo Sha narrowed his eyes and snorted. Hu Qianmei would like this despicable servant girl? Don't make me laugh to death. Come, quickly take them away. Don't waste time. Yes, the guards were no longer polite. One by one, they activated their mystical techniques and rushed over. But at this moment, a dark red figure suddenly rushed over like lightning and landed in front of Su Yun and the others. That person stamped his foot, and the earth shook. The entire outer sect of the Su family trembled 3 times. The bodies of the inner sect guards swayed, and with a moment of carelessness, they all fell to the ground. It was a complete mess, and it was very embarrassing. Even Su Mo Sha was not feeling well. The spirit stallion under his crotch was obviously startled. The horse's hooves shook, and he almost fell off the horse. After a while, he stabilized himself. Looking at the earth again, there were actually 3 cracks, and the source of the cracks actually came from under a small and exquisite foot. Hu Qianmei. Su Mo Sha was stunned. Beat him. Su Yin let out a weak call. Hu Qianmei's cute little eyebrows slightly wrinkled, but in the end, she still agreed. She moved, and like a whirlwind, she rushed towards Su Mo Sha and fiercely slapped his face. Ha! Su Mo Sha's whole body flew off the spirit stallion and fiercely crashed into a tree not far away. Bang! He crashed into the tree, rolled a few times, and fell down. When he climbed up, a bright red palm print appeared on his cheek. Su Mo Sha's mouth overflowed with blood. He touched his burning cheek and was stunned. His eyes were filled with anger as he stared at Hu Qianmei. Lord Protector, you. What are you doing? Doing what? Hu Qianmei secretly glanced at Su Yun, then looked at the dumbstruck Qing Er standing beside Su Yun. She pointed at her and said, This is this lord's sworn sister. This lord and she are in love with each other. At first sight, we hit it off like old friends. This time, she specially accompanied this lord to the outer sect to play, but you actually dared to bring people to take her. To take Hu Qianmei's people. Oh, how dare you? Then, kill him. At this time, Su Yun, who was standing next to her, whispered. This sound was not loud, but Qing Er, who was standing nearby, could clearly hear it. Her eyes widened, and she looked at Su Yun with incomparable astonishment. She saw that Su Yun's eyes were penetrating with a trace of determination and an inextinguishable killing intent. Qing Er's whole body quivered. This is the young master? Hu Qianmei heard this, and was also somewhat stunned. She whispered, Do you really want to do this? If you can, Su Yun said. However, Hu Qianmei did not move. After waiting for a moment, she said, Although it is for the heavenly crystal, if I do this, the gains will not make up for the losses. He is one of Su Li Xiong's people. Once he is killed, the relationship between the Ming-Ing school and the Su family will deteriorate. The Ming-Ing school is not weak, but the Su family's connections are vast, and their connections are complex. I cannot be enemies with them, then just seriously injure him. As for killing him, let me do it. Su Yin whispered. Once Hu Qianmei heard this time it was clean and neat. She directly attacked Su Mo Sha. Who? Protector who? Su Mo Sha's eyes widened. He did not say anything, but he saw Hu Qianmei's petite and exquisite figure in the blink of an eye. Then, she waved her palm and hit his chest. Poochie! Su Mo Sha was hit and flew out. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fiercely fell to the ground. However, this was not the end. Hu Qianmei's palms struck his body and began to attack his 5 viscera and 6 bowels, causing internal injuries. This temporarily blocked his qi channels, preventing his profound spirit qi from repairing itself. With just one strike, this 10th stage spirit intermediate disciple was seriously injured and lost all of his fighting strength. As the inner sect guard saw this, they were extremely anxious. However, no one dared to provoke Hu Qianmei. One by one, they rushed over and helped Su Mo Sha up. Get lost. A single word came out from Hu Qianmei's soft and tender mouth. The guard hurriedly helped Su Mo Sha onto a stallion and quickly rode away. Soon, the sound of horse hooves gradually faded away, leaving behind only a cloud of dust. Hu Qianmei's goal was to obtain the heavenly crystal, and the heavenly crystal was in Su Yun's hands. In order to obtain the heavenly crystal, Hu Qianmei had no choice but to comply with Su Yun's request. Of course, as long as it was not too excessive. If Su Yun told Qing Er and Hu Qianmei that they were sworn sisters, then Qing Er would have some influence in the Su family. At least, she would not be easily bullied. Su Yun did not dare to associate himself with Hu Qianmei. Otherwise, Su Lixiong would be suspicious and send people to investigate. Then, everything would be exposed. Su Yun stared at the direction Su Mo Sha left. After thinking for a moment, he asked, within 3 days, he should not be able to fight, right? He can't even get out of bed. Hu Qianmei gently smiled. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something. She looked at Su Yun and asked, "What do you want to do?" Su Yun did not say anything. He turned around and entered the house. Qing Er stared blankly at Hu Qianmei. Mingying's sect's right protector, she was above tens of thousands of people. Even the left protector had to respect her. The Su family's patriarch personally went to the outer sect to greet her. And unexpectedly, at this critical moment, she ran out to help her. Moreover, she said that they were sworn sisters? Come in and talk, little sister. Hu Qianmei revealed a mouthful of snow-white teeth, laughed, and said to Qing Er, then swayed her snow-white big foxtail and walked into the house. After entering the house, Xianyu and Xingyang stood obediently in front of the table. They did not dare to do anything. Even Qing Er was the same. In their opinion, with Hu Qianmei's cultivation level, how could she dare to act rashly? Haha, sit, don't be so reserved. AI, little sister Qing Er, don't be shy. TSK, you look so cute. Hu Qianmei blinked her coquettish eyes at Su Qing Er. Her tender little tongue even licked her lips, looking like she was thirsting for blood. Qing Er blushed and quickly lowered her head. All right, Master Fox, don't tease them anymore. Su Yun did not stand on ceremony and sat on ground. Tease. Hu Qianmei smiled at Su Yun and said, "Did I tease them? Compared to this, there is someone who has teased me time and time again." Cough, cough. Cough, cough, cough. Su Yun suddenly coughed violently. However, Hu Qianmei obviously did not plan to be friends with Qing Er and the others. She just raised her white hands and snapped her fingers. In an instant, a layer of white light enveloped Xingyang, Xianyu, and Qing Er. In a split second, the three of them realized that they could not hear anything. What's going on? Why can't I hear anything? Xingyang said anxiously. At this time, Hu Qianmei's voice sounded in his mind. I have something to talk to Su Yun about. It's not convenient for you to listen. I will temporarily shield your hearing. Everyone, please wait. Hearing this voice, everyone's hearts finally calmed down. What is this for? Su Yun was puzzled. If you don't want them to hear a conversation, you can ask them to go out and wait. That won't do. If they go out, there will only be the two of us left in the room. It will cause people to gossip. Hu Qianmei used an extremely charming tone and laughed. That pair of peach blossom eyes were still blinking at Su Yun. Su Yun was as quiet as a virgin and did not move. Hu Qianmei's smiling face stiffened. She said with dissatisfaction, "Am I not beautiful?" "No, it's very beautiful." "Then why don't you give me a reaction?" Hu Qianmei curled her lips and said, "Reaction? What reaction? Don't tell me you want me." Su Yun looked at Hu Qianmei's bulging chest. Although Hu Qianmei did not look big, she had developed extremely well. Her red clothes were filled to the brim, as if they were about to tear out of her clothes. She believed that other people would pay attention to her charming and beautiful face and would also pay attention to the peaks of her chest. But at this moment, Hu Qianmei did not care about the gazes of the three people beside her. She secretly unbuttoned her cloth, revealing a small piece of white and tender flesh on her chest. She smiled charmingly and said, "If you want, you can." Chapter 65. A dish delivered to his doorstep. Moreover, it was a stunning beauty. If it was replaced by a man with a slightly weaker will, he would have already attacked. However, Su Yun was not stupid. Hu Qianmei's cultivation level was high. How could she admit that she was inferior to a person? Not to mention, Su Yun had seen many of her methods. How could he dare to do this? Fortunately, the everlasting stone always guarded his mind, otherwise he would have already fallen under her pomegranate skirt. Well, stop messing around. Let's get down to business. Su Yun organized his panicked mind and said in a low voice, "Unromantic." Hu Qianmei curled his lips and tidied up his clothes. Ignoring the three people beside him who could not hear anything, he directly crossed his tender and short white legs and said, "The reason why I did not let them out is because there are a lot of people monitoring you nearby. I know, because of the Marshall Bone Mountain incident, coupled with the fact that my cultivation level has suddenly skyrocketed, it has aroused their suspicions." Su Yun said. He suddenly understood why Hu Qianmei did not let the three of them go out. If Qing Er and the other two left the hut, leaving only Su Yun and Hu Qianmei in the house, the Su family would certainly be suspicious. How did Su Yun and Hu Qianmei know each other? This suspicion would inevitably lead to the heavenly crystal, so Hu Qianmei did not let them go out. So all of this is for the heavenly crystal. Su Yun suddenly realized. Oh, you can't say that. Didn't you also use me once? You clearly knew that I would be watching you in the vicinity for the heavenly crystal, yet you deliberately used such a big matter to say those words. Those words were not meant for Su Mo Sha to hear, but rather for me to hear. Right? Hu Qianmei smiled. If something happens to me, the heavenly crystal will naturally disappear without a trace. You people are even more cunning than me, who has the blood of a fox. Hu Qianmei snorted. This is just the way to survive. In any case, if there is such a thing next time, I will not come forward to solve it. There are still 4 days. My patience is limited. You now give the heavenly crystal to me. I can help you enter the inner sect of the Su family. If you cannot take out the heavenly crystal, then prepare a coffin. Hu Qianmei said with a smile. Then, she got up and walked towards the door. Su Xianyu and the others were puzzled, but they did not know what the two of them were talking about. However, they heard a finger snap at the door, and then the three of them recovered their hearing. Hu Qianmei opened the door and left. In the main medical center, the maid, Xiao Chui, took the medicine prescribed by the old spirit doctor and thanked him profusely. Then, she covered her abdomen, which was still in pain, and staggered away. At this time, there was a burst of noisy shouting at the entrance of the clinic. "Hurry, hurry, hurry. Quick, bring Sir Mo Sha in. Slow down, slow down." A panicked voice rang out. Then, they saw Su Mo Sha being carried by 2 bodyguards. Just as they entered the door, they heard a poochie sound. Su Mo Sha spat out a mouthful of red blood. His entire face was pale, and he was groaning in pain. "What's going on?" Xiao Chui was confused. Su Mo Sha was placed on a bed, and the old spiritual doctor rushed over to diagnose and cure him. A moment later, the patriarch rushed over and chased everyone away. Seeing Su Mo Sha's situation, the patriarch's face became somewhat gloomy. "What's going on? Aren't you following the young miss?" Su Lixiong poured a vigorous and powerful spirit aura into Su Mo Sha to protect his mind and asked coldly. Su Mo Sha, who was weak and weak, told the whole story. What? The young miss actually became sworn sisters with Hu Qianmei? How is this possible? Su Lixiong obviously did not believe it. How long had it been since Hu Qianmei came to the Su family? Patriarch, if it's like this, then, after the young miss is sent to the profound sky sect, this Hu Qianmei will not interfere? Su Mo Sha groaned, as if he was a dying man. Humph! Su Lixiong coldly snorted. Although the Ming-Ing school is strong, how could they dare to be enemies with the profound sky sect? Even the immortal sword sect has to respect the profound sky sect. Even if I lend Hu Qianmei a few more guts, She would not dare to do this. However, I am very curious. Why did Hu Qianmei injure you so severely? In this kind of situation, does she need to be so ruthless? Su Mo Sha's eyes suddenly widened. He grabbed Su Mo Sha's hand and excitedly said, "Uncle, you must avenge me. I am not willing. I am not willing. I must seek justice." Uncle. So this Su Mo Sha was actually the nephew of the patriarch, Su Lixiong. Presumably, many people in the Su family did not know about this. However, Su Lixiong broke away from his hand with a solemn expression. Hu Qianmei's strength is very high. She also has the backing of the Ming school. She is not easy to deal with. If we were to make a move on her because of this matter, maybe it would attract a great enemy for the Su family. Don't tell me. We're just going to let go like this? Of course not. Su Lixiong lowered his head and pondered for a moment, then said, "I heard that Hu Qianmei has a rare physique that can only be found once in 1,000 years. If I can obtain her body, then my power will greatly increase, and my cultivation will skyrocket. Although Hu Qianmei's appearance is very flirtatious, I have never heard of her having an affair with anyone." Mo Sha, what do you think of this Hu Qianmei? Hu Qianmei? Su Mo Sha was stunned. In his mind emerged the beautiful face of a young girl. His eyes instantly soared with endless desire. If I can obtain her, I am willing to live a few years less. That's good. Wait until your injuries are healed. During this time, you can rest in peace and recuperate. I will think of a way. Su Lixiong said, then turned around and directly went out. Hu Qianmei. Su Mo Sha clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. I will make you regret it. Regarding the reason for Hu Qianmei's help, Su Yin did not tell Xianyu and the others. After all, the less they knew about this matter, the better it would be for them. The heavenly crystal was like a hot potato that everyone was thinking about. After chatting with Su Yin for a while, Qing Er hurried back to the main house. Su Xianyu and Su Xingyang also went back. Hu Qianmei was still at the place where the Su family had arranged for her. There was no movement. Su Yin knew that she was waiting, and he also knew that he did not have much time left. How could he get rid of Hu Qianmei? Su Yin did not know, but this was not what he needed to do right now. The sun set in the west, and the night came. Su Yin pulled his own spirit stallion, jumped on it, and galloped straight towards the main house. Using Hu Qianmei's name, he was unimpeded all the way. Soon, he entered the main house, which was 10 miles away from the outer sect. The 3 Su family clans were like 3 big circles. The outer sect covered the inner sect, and the inner sect covered the main house. Layer by layer, the hierarchy was clearly defined. The outer sect of the Su family was suffering. Everyone was fighting for their own future, but the inner sect had everything. Everyone was fighting for their own strength. As for the main house, it was completely different. Not only did the main house have the best conditions of the Su family, but it was also built on a piece of land with good feng shui. As soon as he stepped into the main house, he felt that his profound spirit qi was recovering at a much faster rate. This was extremely beneficial to his cultivation. Many of the outer sect's dreams were to enter the inner sect of the Su family to cultivate. The inner sect's dream was to enter the main house, but many of the inner sect's dreams were never fulfilled. After entering the main house, he stopped his horse in a corner. Taking advantage of the night, he changed his usual white robe, took off his disciple badge, and put on a black blade master outfit. He stepped onto the sword sheath, took out the broken face from his storage ring, and covered his face with it. Then, he quickly walked forward. As he neared the main house, Su Yun slowed down his pace. There were many defensive enchantments in the main house. All the main house cultivators had a special martial arts field. Outside the martial arts field, it was forbidden to use spirit aura. Once someone used spirit aura, these defensive enchantments would immediately capture it and inform the main house guards. The guard of the main house were all top-notch experts. Even in the big sects, they were not weak existences. Conservatively speaking, they were all at least at the 5th stage of the spirit core disciple. Maybe there were even stronger people. Currently, Su Yin definitely could not fight against even one of the main house guards. So, everything had to be done quietly. He quietly walked towards the main house's medical shop. Under the moonlight, The Iron Mask looked very cold. Avoiding the crowd, he walked in the shadows. Soon, he arrived at the outside of the medical shop. Katja! The door was gently pushed open. It was late at night. The old spirit doctor had already fallen asleep. Only his servant stood by the bed, still guarding the person who was resting on the bed. Su-yin quietly walked over. The servant was startled. He did not know who this person was. He watched as this person reached out his hand and gently touched the Jinghai acupuncture point on his neck. His nerves were immediately paralyzed. His brain was temporarily supplied with oxygen, and he fainted. Guada! The servant fell to the ground. The sound awakened the sleeping Su-mo Sha. He suddenly opened his eyes and endured the pain as he crawled up. "Oh!" Su-mo Sha shouted. "Don't be nervous." A low voice came out from the masked man's mouth. Su-mo Sha vigilantly stared at him. "Who are you?" "That is not important. The important thing is that Qing Air, who has been suffering for so many years, can finally vent her anger." Qing Air. Su-mo Sha was stunned. He suddenly understood. "You are that cheap servant?" "Cheap servant?" The iron-masked man frowned. Unfortunately, Su-mo Sha could not see it. "Hee, isn't that right? She is just a waste servant. With a bit of luck, she entered the main house. But even so, her lowly bloodline cannot be changed. A cheap servant is a cheap servant." Su-mo Sha snorted. The iron-masked man did not speak. He did not even do anything. He directly turned around and walked out of the room. "Stop!" Su-mo Sha shouted. However, the man did not stop and quickly left the room. Su-mo Sha wanted to call for help, but at this moment, even getting out of bed was a problem. After the man left, the surroundings were silent. There was no movement, no sound. What does that guy do? Did he come here just to say those inexplicable words? Su-mo Sha was puzzled. "No. Someone come. Someone come quickly." Su-mo Sha shouted and prepared to drag the masked man back. But at this moment, suddenly, with a whoosh, the window of the spirit medical hall was smashed open and a sharp sword with a sharp edge pierced through the air. Pucci! Su-mo Sha did not have the time to react. The sword pierced through his head and nailed him to the wall of the medical hall. His entire head was split in half by the sword's aura. After beheading him, the sword trembled again and flew out the window, disappearing into the night. An ear-piercing alarm resounded through the entire main house. Then, a large number of radiant enchantments broke out and surrounded the entire main house. The main house's gate quickly closed. The main house's imperial bodyguard brought a large number of guards and quickly rushed towards the medical hall. In the main house, outside of the martial field, once there was an explosion of spirit aura, an alarm would immediately be triggered. The imperial bodyguard brought his men and rushed into the medical hall with the fastest speed possible. However, when the group of people entered the medical hall, the scene in front of them shocked everyone. The main house's Su-mo Sha's head was split in half. His body was stuck to the wall, and his face was still full of fear. White brain matter and red blood were scattered all over the bed. Chapter 66. On the outskirts of the main house. In the middle of the night, a spirit stallion was galloping, rolling up a cloud of dust. Su-yin took off the mask on his face and galloped forward. Although the main house's enchantment would capture the spirit aura and quickly send out an alarm, under the attack of the limitless sword arts, the enchantment's alarm simply could not keep up with the speed. Su-yin only needed to lock onto his target, stand a few hundred meters away, and use the flying sword to kill him. This way, he could escape before the guard arrived and the main house was sealed. If there was no flying sword to kill him, Su-yin absolutely would not dare to make a move in the main house. The light of the night shone on his back, and the man and the horse quickly disappeared. The next day, the news of Su-mo Sha's death spread throughout the Su family. The patriarch was furious and ordered the arrest of the murderer, but no one connected this matter to Su-yin. Although Su-yin and Su-mo Sha had a grudge and met each other during the day, Su-mo Sha was still an expert. Even though he was seriously injured, he was still in the main house. How could he be killed? The investigation team that came out from the main house began to investigate one by one. The leader was Su-mo Li. Su-yin now knew that Su-mo Sha and Su-mo Li were blood-related brothers. The investigation team searched for a long time, but did not find any clues. They also interrogated Su Yun, but to no avail. Therefore, they had to continue to the main house and search the scene of the incident. With Su Mo Sha's death, perhaps Qing Air would feel better. However, this was only temporary. If she did not leave the Su family, sooner or later, she would become a sacrifice for the Su family. This was his last relative, the last person who cared about him and cared about him. How could he not cherish him? At this moment, Su Yun was still cultivating in his small broken hut. After accumulating spirit lord aura, he went to the back mountain and cultivated the heaven-splitting sword technique that he obtained from Martial Bone Mountain. If he had successfully cultivated the heaven-splitting sword technique, Su Yun would not have allowed Hu Qianmei to seriously injure Su Mo Sha. The everlasting stone could allow a person to meditate and increase the speed of cultivation. It increased one's talent, not just the speed of cultivation. Even the cultivation of mystical skills had a very good increase. In addition, the number of spirit essences in Su Yun's body far exceeded the number of spirit essences in his current realm. His profound spirit qi was vigorous, and his speed of growth was extremely strong. Cultivating the heaven-splitting sword technique was not considered difficult. In half a day's time, he was able to stabilize the sword qi and separate it. As the sun gradually set, Su Yun gasped for breath as he sat on a boulder. Looking at the dark forest behind the mountain, he took out a pill and swallowed it. TSK, 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 TSK. Just then, a voice suddenly came from the side, and Hu Qianmei, who was dressed in a purple sword skirt, walked over. "You've been watching me all day?" Su Yun glanced at her and said indifferently. However, Hu Qianmei did not reply to his question. Instead, she walked over and carefully sized up Su Yun, her charming eyes filled with smiles. "Looks like I've underestimated you. Handsome brother. Underestimate. Of course. This time, you've used me once again. Oh, Hu Qianmei, can be considered smart and quick-witted, but I never thought that I would be used by you again and again." Hu Qianmei's smile gradually turned cold. "You let me seriously injure Su Mo Sha, make him lose his fighting strength, and enter the main sex medical hall. Then, you can easily rush to the medical hall and kill Su Mo Sha, right? You want him to die, but I don't do it for you, so you do it yourself?" Su Yun did not reply. After Su Mo Sha was seriously injured, he was strangely assassinated in the medical hall. "Your strength is low, and in the outer sect, no one will associate this matter with you. But I am different. Because Su Mo Sha was heavily injured by me, it would be hard for the Su family not to suspect me. Moreover, I heard that last night, someone used my name to sneak into the main sect. This person, is it you?" Hu Qianmei took small steps, her huge tail gently swaying under the sword skirt wrapped around her perky buttocks. "Forget it. If you want to use me, then so be it. As long as the heavenly crystal is in my hands, I will not pursue this matter. But then again, your imperial sword technique is really amazing. The immortal sword sect's imperial sword technique is only used as a means of transportation. They use their profound spirit qi to directly infuse into a magic weapon. If the body is not in direct contact with a magic weapon, then it is basically impossible to control the flying sword. But not only can you control the flying sword to fly, you can also control the flying sword to kill the enemy. I do not know how many times superior you are to them. Boy, this technique. Who passed it down? Ancestral Secret Manual. Ancestral Secret Manual? Hu Qianmei was surprised. Yes, it was passed down to me by my grandfather's grandfather's grandfather. Are you playing with me? Hu Qianmei smiled brilliantly. Her smile was filled with killing intent. Yes, Su Yun very generously admitted. Courting death, do you still want the heavenly crystal? Seeing that Hu Qianmei had not yet flared up, Su Yun hastily shouted. Hu Qianmei's face changed a few times. Then, she resumed her smiling appearance. Okay, I will let you jump around for a few days. There are still 3 days. If you do not take out the heavenly crystal in 3 days, then I will skin you alive. Then just wait. Oh, that's right, Hu Qianmei suddenly said. I am not a person who can be bullied. You have been playing with me for the past few days. How can I easily forgive you? If you do not take out the heavenly crystal, then you will not be the only one who will die. Maybe there will be others." After saying that, Huqianmei blinked her eyes. She had a mischievous look, but in the next second, a cold aura burst out. Su Yun's face instantly became cold. His face turned into ice as he stared at her. Her delicate body was pressed to the ground, and a mournful long sword pierced towards her head. She did not dodge. The sword stabbed into the side of her face. It pierced into the ground, and the sword blade penetrated into the ground. A pair of cold and terrifying eyes, so vicious that it made one's scalp numb, reflected in her charming eyes. Huqianmei's smile did not diminish. She was still smiling as she looked at the person who was pressing down on her. "What? Handsome brother can't wait? But you can. This is the first time I'm not in bed, but in the wild. Although it is romantic, it is not comfortable. But it doesn't matter. Handsome brother likes it. I don't care what handsome brother does." Huqianmei used a very charming tone to speak. As she finished speaking, her pink tongue did not forget to lick her cracked lips. Separated by a very close distance, Su Yun could even smell the fragrance of her body. There was also a strange milky smell. Su Yun did not care about these smells. He fiercely stared at Huqianmei and coldly said, "No matter if I give you the heavenly crystal or not, I just want you to remember one thing. You can kill me or not, but you're not allowed to touch them. Otherwise, I want you. I want the Ming-Ying school to die without a burial ground. Do you understand?" After Huqianmei heard this, she suddenly froze. But after a while, she could not help but giggle. She laughed like a flower branch trembling. Her chest was trembling nonstop. "Ha ha ha. With just you? Su Yun, aren't you too self-righteous? Ha 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 ha." Huqianmei laughed so hard that she almost choked. Su Yun ignored her. He stood up, put the engraved dragon blade back into the sword sheath, and turned to leave. "Hey, handsome brother, what's wrong? People have already followed you. Why did you run away? Can't you?" Huqianmei's playful voice came from behind. But Su Yun was already walking further and further away. The next 3 days passed very peacefully. Su Yun stayed in his small broken house for half a day. Then he went to the outer sex shop to buy some simple items. Although Huqianmei provided him with a lot of convenience, she would also become the biggest trouble. If he did not get rid of her, he would not be at peace. Su Yun's mind suddenly thought of an idea. He did not know if he could use the heavenly demon blood array and the heavenly crystal to fight against Huqianmei. Not to mention that the heavenly crystal had not yet recovered strength. The materials needed to arrange the heavenly demon blood array could not be collected. Moreover, Huqianmei was afraid that she would always be watching him. Once he took out the heavenly crystal, with her vicious character, she would definitely kill him. Then, she would take the heavenly crystal and leave the Su family. Therefore, unless it was a critical moment, he could not take out the heavenly crystal. Su Yun did not buy any complex materials from the shop. He only bought 2 gale symbols and threw them into his bag. He did not buy any other items. If he bought too many, he was afraid that Huqianmei would become suspicious. After that, he continued to cultivate in his small broken house. The 3rd day passed peacefully. On the 4th day, the investigation team invited him to drink a cup of tea, and then he returned safely. Until the 5th day. Noon passed. Kacha, the door of the small broken house, was gently pushed open. Huqianmei, wearing a dark red sword skirt, slowly walked in. Her skin was as white as snow. Her face was extremely charming. Her figure was exquisite. Her long hair was like a waterfall, and her pink lips were gently raised, revealing a trace of smile that was either seductive or proud. After entering the house, she walked step by step towards Su Yun. However, her right hand was always on the dagger hanging on her waist. A little bit of killing intent was hidden very well. "Time's up," she smiled and softly called out. Su Yun raised his eyes and looked at her. Then, "Should I take care of the heavenly crystal?" Huqianmei smiled with her lovely eyes and said, "Or is it your life?" Looking at the 11 or 12-year-old girl in front of him, he secretly took a deep breath, stood up, and said, "I hid the heavenly crystal in a place. If you want it, come with me." "Is it in the Su family?" "No." With that, he went out of the house and directly pulled the spirit stallion. He flipped over the horse and rushed outside. Seeing this, Hu Qianmei's smile disappeared. She snorted twice and went to the outer sect to get a good horse. Then, she also went out. Soon, the two left the outer sect of the Su family. Su Yun ran all the way to the west. He did not wait for Hu Qianmei. However, Hu Qianmei was not afraid of him running away. After all, Su Yun's cultivation level was too different from hers. The two of them galloped madly for nearly a day before Su Yun finally stopped. He did not know where he was, but it was located in front of a pool in a cave. The two sides were desolate without any vegetation, and the pool was also very strange. It was a deep blue without any ripples, as if there were no living creatures inside. The pool also emitted a bone-chilling aura, causing people to shiver uncontrollably. "What are you doing here?" Hu Qianmei looked around at the empty surroundings and asked. "Take the heavenly crystal," Su Yun said indifferently. Then, he put a water avoidance pearl in his mouth, and with a plop, he jumped in. Hu Qianmei's eyes flashed a trace of vigilance. She secretly urged her profound spirit qi to wrap around herself. A layer of pink qi appeared. Then, she jumped down and entered the pool. The pool was not deep, but the water was extremely cold. Su Yun, who had consumed the water avoidance pill, could not take it anymore, and the robes on his body were covered in frost. Hu Qianmei was fine and slowly followed behind. After swimming for a while, under the pool, there was a big stone. Su Yun swam over and pushed the big stone away. Suddenly, a white enchantment appeared in front of the two. They saw Su Yun pull out the engraved dragon blade and poke the enchantment a few times. The enchantment broke. Hu Qianmei saw this and thought, to be able to clearly find the boundary point of this thick enchantment, it seems like this is not the first time this guy has come here. The enchantment broke and a corridor appeared. The water in the pool could not pour into the corridor. Su Yun went down the corridor with ease, but Hu Qianmei did not enter. "You hid the heavenly crystal here?" she asked doubtfully. "Yes, if you want. Come in." Su Yun's nerves slightly tightened as he whispered. His eyes flashed a trace of tension that was difficult to capture. "Who knew?" Hu Qianmei slyly smiled. "No, I will not go down. You go down and get the heavenly crystal for me. I will wait for you here." Chapter 67. Hearing that, Su Yun stopped in his tracks. He never thought that Hu Qianmei would actually say such a thing. If Hu Qianmei did not come down, then his plan would not be able to be implemented. He did not expect this cunning fox to be so cautious. Su Yun's complexion slightly tightened and his eyes flashed. "I'll go alone." He sighed. "Are you afraid of something?" "I'm not afraid of anything." Hu Qianmei squinted her eyes and smiled. "I just feel a little strange. Why would you put the heavenly crystal here? And who built this place? You're only a spirit intermediate disciple. How could you build such a place? Isn't this very strange? Just because of this?" Su Yun was stunned for a moment, then chuckled. "The heavenly crystal's aura is strong. If it is casually placed, it will be smelled by powerful people. So I put here. Although this place was not built by me, it belongs to me. Well, it was left to me by my parents. So you don't have to worry about anything. Quickly come in." "No need, no need." Hu Qianmei shook her cute little head and smiled. "I'll wait for you here. It's good." "You really don't want to come in?" Su Yun asked with a frown. "Why must I go in?" Hu Qianmei's eyebrows were already showing a trace of suspicion and vigilance. Seeing this, Su Yun's eyes secretly turned. He did not insist and nodded. "Well, you wait here. I'll go get the heavenly crystal for you." Hu Qianmei heard this and suddenly smiled. She used a cute and charming voice to call out, "Handsome brother is the best." Su Yun glanced at her and then went into the stairs. Hu Qianmei used her aura to open up the cold pool water and sat at the bottom of the pool waiting. Su Yun went down the stairs. After a while, there was no movement. However, even if there was no movement, Hu Qianmei would not go down. Although she had only been in contact with Su Yun for a short time, she had been used by him several times. Hu Qianmei already had some understanding of him and was even a little afraid. This guy, although his cultivation was not high, he was very cunning. Hu Qianmei secretly thought, You, who are you?" Suddenly, a scream came from the bottom of the stairs. Hu Qianmei was shocked. He suddenly stood up and ran over to look at the stairs. However, he saw that there was nothing on the stairs, but there was a series of screams coming from the depths. Who are you? Could it be that someone had snuck in? Fuchieme was secretly anxious, but she did not dare to directly go down the stairs. There was still a little doubt on her face. Who would have thought that at this moment, an old voice would come from the stairs? Ha 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 ha. You want to rely on a waste like you to have the heavenly crystal? Die. The heavenly crystal is mine. This voice? This was definitely not Su Yun's. There are others? Fuchieme finally could not hold it in any longer. He jumped in and went down the stairs. At the bottom of the stairs was a dark and long stone path. It was dim and narrow on both sides. Fuchieme secretly clenched her teeth, pulled out the short sword from her waist, and quickly rushed forward. After passing through this stone path, there was a relatively spacious light blue crystal room. The crystal room was very strange. The rock walls on both sides were very undulating, and the ground was also uneven. It didn't seem to be man-made, but rather natural. There was a strange smell in the air, and the temperature was extremely low. At this moment, in the middle of the light blue crystal room, Su Yun was lying there motionless. He seemed to have fainted. Hu Qianmei, seeing this, was stunned. She looked around and saw that the surroundings were very strange. She hesitated and did not dare to move forward. Quickly chase someone. Someone sneaked in, came in. At this time, Su Yun, who was lying in the middle of the light blue crystal room, suddenly became pale and shouted with an extremely weak voice. Hu Qianmei quickly looked at him, but found that Su Yun's whole body was not breathing. He did not have much strength, as if he was seriously injured. Looking at the other side of the crystal room, a snow-white door appeared. The door opened a little bit, as if the door had just been opened. Seeing this situation, Hu Qianmei could not stay calm no matter how vigilant she was. Didn't she do all this for the heavenly crystal? If the heavenly crystal was really taken away, how could she be willing? Immediately, Hu Qianmei gathered her profound spirit qi and rushed towards the door. As for Su Yun, she did not care. She only wanted the heavenly crystal. But, just as Hu Qianmei was about to step into the crystal room, a strange power suddenly enveloped her. In a flash, half of her profound spirit qi was sucked out. The accumulated profound spirit qi also quickly dissipated and disappeared without a trace. What's going on? Hu Qianmei's eyes were filled with a trace of fear. Looking at Su Yun, who was struggling to climb up from the ground, she suddenly understood that she had fallen into a trap. She quickly retreated. At this time, the crystal room's door suddenly blew a strong wind. Hu Qianmei, whose profound spirit qi was quickly disappearing, did not have time to react. Her petite body was blown over and scraped into the center of the crystal room. Here, the strange energy was even thicker. The profound spirit qi of a person's body had already disappeared. Not only that, even the strength was a lot smaller. Hu Qianmei fell to the ground. She closed her eyes and endured the pain coming from her buttocks. She looked at the crystal room's door and saw that there were 2 gale talismans on both sides of the door. In an instant, Hu Qianmei understood. She turned her head and angrily shouted at Su Yun. But the little girl had not even finished speaking when a big hand grabbed her small hand and pulled her over. Hu Qianmei did not have profound spirit qi. Even her own strength was a lot smaller. How could she be Su Yun's opponent? Her small body was simply unable to resist. This place was extremely strange. It was able to offset a person's strength and profound spirit qi. Su Yun was afraid that he already knew about it. Therefore, he deliberately lured Hu Qianmei over. Although Hu Qianmei was vigilant and cautious, under Su Yun's guidance, she still barged in. Especially that strange voice, Hu Qianmei would never know that the magic treasure on Su Yun's body was carrying a soul. Hu Qianmei realized that something was wrong. She planned to retreat. She did not expect Su Yun to use 2 gale talismans to send her in. So despicable. I did not expect that I would actually be defeated by 2 inferior gale talismans. Hu Qianmei struggled with her small hand. Her charming eyes stared at the expressionless Su Yun. She clenched her teeth and said, "But Su Yun, don't be complacent. I have a lot of treasures. Killing you is as easy as flipping my hand. You better let go of me now. Otherwise, I want you to die without a corpse." Die without a corpse? Su Yin sneered. He directly stretched out his hand and pinched Hu Qianmei's white and smooth face. He said, "Then quickly let me die without a corpse." Hu Qianmei's tender cheeks were pinched and a red mark appeared. She cried out in pain. This place did not only offset the profound spirit qi and her strength, but also the strength of her body. This is the center of the entire Zhu Lian area. It is a special place where 5 elements mutually extinguish exists. You and I are standing in the center of this 5 elements mutually extinguish. Here, don't mention profound spirit qi and strength. Even treasures cannot be activated. Even if you are a purple rank, spirit rank, or even a peerless rank treasure, you can't activate it here. You want me to die without a corpse? Oh, if you think you can, then you can give it a try. When Hu Qianmei heard this, she suddenly froze. 5 elements. Mutually extinguish? 5 elements mutually extinguish. The power of the 5 elements is balanced. Metal extinguishes wood, wood extinguishes earth, earth extinguishes water, water extinguishes fire, and fire extinguishes metal. The 5 elements mutually extinguish. There's only one such place in this area. Coincidentally, I know the location of the Zhu Lian area. Su Yin pulled the little girl over. He directly slapped her perky buttocks. Hu Qianmei cried out in pain. Her charming eyes overflowed with tears. She pitifully looked at Su Yun and called out, "Handsome brother, you want to kill me?" It's not that simple. Su Yun's mouth raised a trace of evil charm. You dare to use Qing air and the others to threaten me. How can I let you go so easily? But I didn't do it. Let me go. I don't want the heavenly crystal. I won't dare to provoke handsome brother again. Okay? Let me go. Hu Qianmei began to beg. Her delicate and charming appearance combined with her pitiful expression. Even an iron heart would melt. However, Su Yin directly ignored her. He grabbed the fluffy tail with one hand and held it in his hand. A smooth and comfortable feeling spread. However, when he held the tail in his hand, Hu Qianmei's body suddenly became soft. Her white cheeks flushed red. She fell to the ground and gently trembled. Her small pink mouth was gasping for breath. Don't touch. There. Oh. Su Yin strangely looked at the fluffy tail in his hand. He froze for a moment, but soon he knew. Is this tail very sensitive? Oh, I don't care. Su Yin did not care. Similarly, he did not intend to let Hu Qianmei go. This vicious woman was not a simple existence. If he did not have the heavenly crystal, he was afraid that she would have already killed him. Before, she repeatedly helped him because of the heavenly crystal. Moreover, Su Yin could not guarantee that if he really gave the heavenly crystal to her, she would not kill him. With her character, the probability of her killing him should be very high. After all, she wanted to ensure that no one knew that the heavenly crystal was in her hands. Since she did not intend to let him go, then why should he let her go? Immediately, Su Yun slowly took out the slender and cold engraved dragon blade from the sword sheath behind him. His eyes were filled with killing intent. His expression was cold and his face was expressionless. Murderous aura rippled. Impressively, he wanted to end Hu Qianmei. Brat, don't mess around. Just as Su Yun was holding Hu Qianmei's handle and was about to make his move, the sword elder's voice suddenly sounded from the limitless sword arts. What? Su Yun asked. This woman has a rare, pure dual cultivation physique. If you get her, you can share a part of her talent and increase your cultivation. How many people dream of getting this woman? Don't you have an obsession in your heart? Don't you long for power? Why don't you deal with her? What about sharing her talent and increasing your cultivation? The sword elder laughed. Su Yin was stunned for a while. Then he called out, Are the people of the limitless sword sect so shameless? Get lost. This old man is giving you a suggestion. But if I don't kill her when I get out of here, I will be in trouble. Ha ha ha. What are you afraid of? She has a dual cultivation physique. If you get her, you two will share the same talent. If she kills you, her talent will be crippled. In the future, it will be difficult for her to cultivate. Unless she does not want to break through to a higher cultivation level, otherwise, how would she dare to touch you? What if she touches Qing, air, and the others? They did not share their talent with this fox spirit. Then you can use self-mutilation to threaten her. Why are all these bad ideas? Su Yun frowned. Hee, you decide for yourself. The Sword Elder let out a smile that all men understood and said, don't say dual cultivation physique is rare even in 1,000 years. Just talking about dual cultivation physique with such high cultivation level and talent, it can only be seen once in 5,000 years. Not to mention, this girl is also extremely beautiful. TSK, TSK, TSK. You brat really don't know how to enjoy your good fortune. Su Yun. Chapter 68. Hu Qianmei, whose face was flushed red, raised her head with difficulty and looked at Su Yun while gasping for breath. She tried her best to pull her tail out of Su Yun's calloused palm, but she didn't have any strength left in her body. She could only lie on the ground and use a weak voice like a sheep to call out, Big brother, are you not going to kill me? What do you think? Su Yun said coldly. If brother let me go, Hu Qianmei, can swear that I don't want the heavenly crystal. I will never find trouble with brother ever again. What's wrong? Hu Qianmei immediately said. Hearing that, Su Yun seemed to be thinking about something. Seeing that, Hu Qianmei anxiously called out again. Not only that, I can also gift brother a lot of good pills. And magic treasure. I can give you as many powerful magic treasure as brother wants. That's right, that's right. If big brother still wants glory and wealth, I can give it to him. Brother, you just have to join Mingying's school. I only need to say one sentence. Brother will definitely not have a problem becoming a hall master. It is 10,000 times better than staying in the Su family. Is it really that good? Su Yun seemed to be a little moved. Seeing that, Hu Qianmei was immediately overjoyed and nodded his head. I can swear now. Swear? Su Yun snorted. Who would believe such childish things? Maybe if I let you go now, you'll kill me the moment you leave this place. Qianmei definitely won't. Hu Qianmei immediately said. Tears were still rolling in her charming eyes. She looked extremely pitiful, as though she wanted to melt people. But in the next second, Su Yun moved. He took out the limitless sword arts from his storage ring, then opened the limitless sword sheath. Hey, kid, what are you doing? The Sword Elder seemed to have sensed that something was wrong and hurriedly shouted. Senior, please bear with me for a moment. Su Yun said. Wronged? What grievances? Hey, don't leave me there. Hey, the Sword Elder shouted. He didn't know why this old bastard suddenly didn't want to go into the sword sheath. Su Yun could not be bothered with him, and directly threw the sword art into the sword sheath. Once inside the sword sheath, the limitless sword arts and the Sword Elder's aura immediately disappeared without a trace. After that, Su Yun placed the sword sheath back into his storage ring. He took a deep breath, and his eyes were filled with determination. Perhaps this would be unfair to Qing Heir, but if he could bring Qing Heir away from the Su family before she was sent away, then it will all be worth it. Su Yun secretly clenched his fists. Although Su Mo Sha was dead, he was like a needle that pierced Su Yun's heart. However, if a small servant from the main house could casually scold Qing Heir, then in the main house, how many people could bully Qing Heir? He had to leave the Su family as soon as possible. It had to be. Su Yun clenched his fists, looked down, and looked at Hu Qianmei, who was still crawling in front of him. Feeling the change in the person in front of her, Hu Qianmei was shocked. She raised her small face and met Su Yun's cold eyes. She was shocked, not knowing what Su Yun wanted to do. Kill me? But he sheathed his sword. Let me go. How could this be? Could it be? He wants to take me? Hu Qianmei was instantly terrified. She felt that there was nothing more terrifying than this. Even death, however, she could not see any desire in Su Yun's eyes suddenly. Just then, the man moved. He flipped Hu Qianmei over, placed his big hand on his full chest, and then withdrew. Chila. The Blade Master clothes on her chest were torn off, exposing her white and delicate skin to the air. Hu Qianmei was stunned. After a moment, her lovely expression disappeared without a trace. The pitiful posture that she had pretended to be completely dissipated, and her face was filled with surprise and anger. Su Yun, what are you going to do? Hu Qianmei struggled and stretched out her hands to push the man away. However, in this mutual destruction of the 5 elements, how much ability did she have? The man did not pay attention to her resistance, and with one hand, he clasped her delicate wrist and pressed it to the ground, while with the other hand, he began to tear the dark red Blademaster skirt. Bastard! Let me go! Quickly let me go! You bastard! You will die a horrible death. Uchieme's eyes overflowed with tears. She was extremely angry. Although she was good at seductive techniques, she had never experienced this kind of thing before. In the past, even if she played too much, at least her cultivation could protect her. But today was different. Perhaps she would find a man to be her dual cultivation partner, but she could not accept someone who took her body and became her dual cultivation partner. He was only a spirit intermediate disciple, a low-level existence. Don't, let me go, Huchieme shouted, but to no avail. Very quickly, the Blademaster skirt was taken off. Two lustrous white thighs appeared. Although it was not slender, the proportion was just right. A bit more was too long, a bit less was too short. Huchieme used her feet to continuously hit Suyun, but at this moment, this little bit of strength was like cotton. Suyun did not care at all. Suddenly, her chest was hot, and a big hand covered it. Uchieme's whole body trembled. Her eyes widened as she looked at her soft place being desecrated, her eyes filled with disbelief. But it was not over yet. The man didn't seem to have any foreplay, or rather, he didn't intend to enjoy this wonderful body. After kneading a few times, he directly pried open her tightly closed legs with one hand, took off his clothes, and actually planned to drive straight in. No, Suyun, you can't do this. I can promise you anything you want. I beg you, let me go. Huchieme almost screamed out. Tears flowed down her white face. The man gasped for breath, but at this moment, his movements slowed down. He looked at the girl whose face was filled with fear, despair, helplessness, and hesitation, and suddenly felt a sharp pain in his heart. What am I doing? He said hoarsely. Suyun, let me go. The girl's unique, clear voice came out with a tone of fear. This time, Huchieme did not pretend anymore. It was fear from the bottom of her heart. This terror had nothing to do with strength or cultivation. It simply came from the purity in the depths of a girl's heart. Maybe I'm wrong, Suyun said in a low voice. Huchieme's pupils slightly enlarged. Looking at the handsome face that was as sharp as an axe, a trace of confusion flashed through the depths of her eyes. You can hate me, or maybe you can kill me, but it has to be after I'm done with all of this. In order to protect important people, I have made many mistakes and also committed many sins, but I do not regret it. I can let down this world, and this world can let down me, but I can't let down the people I care about. I only want them to live well. Other than that, it doesn't matter. Huchieme was completely stunned. At this time, the man's waist and abdomen straightened, and a tearing pain came from his lower body. Ugh! Huchieme clenched her teeth, her delicate body trembling violently. Tears fell silently. She did not shout, nor did she beg for mercy. She could only widen her eyes, looking at the man whose pupils were gradually turning red. Slowly, the eyes were filled with lust, and slowly, the man began to lose himself. The two unique, profound spirit chi began to strangely collide, bursting out a unique chi flower. The five elements mutually extinguished, incomparably silent. No one would discover this secret realm buried under the pool of water in the no-man's land. Here, even the wind was silent. Only the strange sound gradually faded away. After the storm, Suyun violently gasped for breath. The completely naked Huchieme quietly laid on his chest. The little girl's body was curled up, her huge tail wrapped around her delicate body that was full of bruises. Her white skin was green and purple, especially her lower body. It was extremely swollen, like a plum blossom. Although this was Huchieme's first time, he did not know how many times he had done it. He only knew that after entering. Every time he reached the peak, not only did he not feel the slightest bit tired, but he also became more and more spirited. Furthermore, there was a stream of chi stored in his lower abdomen. It was like a small sun, emitting a bit of radiance, nourishing the chi channels and spirit essences in his body. This feeling made him extremely infatuated. Wait a minute. Suyun suddenly felt that something was wrong. The number of spirit essences scattered throughout his body had increased a little, but Why were some of the spirit essences only the size of a grain of rice? Could it be? Suyin hastily checked, only to see that the rice grain-sized spirit essences only appeared around the other spirit essences. There were not many of them, only 17 of them. However, the profound spirit chi that they gave off was extremely astonishing. It was at least 10 times more than the normal spirit essences. Earth spirit essence. Su Yun was overjoyed. Only a 4th stage spirit intermediate disciple could produce a high-level spirit essence. Didn't this mean that he had already reached the 4th stage of spirit intermediate disciple? In just a short period of time, he had actually jumped 2 stages. Moreover, his talent had also been greatly enhanced. His chi channels, spirit essences, profound spirit chi, as well as his attribute chi, had become more sensitive. His spirit was abundant, and his heart was clear and pure. Was this the benefit of sharing his talent? Su Yin whispered, "Are you happy?" At this time, a low voice came out. Su Yin was startled from his joy. He looked down and saw that Qianmei had already woken up. She expressionlessly looked at Su Yin. Her eyes were dim, and there were traces of tears in the corner of her eyes. "Your cultivation has increased. Your talent has increased, right? Aren't you very happy?" Hu Qianmei's emotionless voice came out again. "I need strength." "Strength? Heavenly crystal is also good. Your strength is also good. As long as I can obtain strength, I will fight for it. I don't have much time." After Su Yin finished, he was silent. After a long time, he opened his mouth again. "Do you hate me?" "Hate you?" Hu Qianmei's flushed red face looked at Su Yin. After a while, she laughed. "Ha ha 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 ha." She laughed very loudly, but there was a bit of hoarseness in her sweet laughter. It was filled with an indescribable pain. Tears flowed out again, flowing down the tear stains that had not yet dried up. "I am just a lowly bastard. What is there to hate?" Hu Qianmei wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. With an indifferent expression, she said, "I am just a bastard born from the demon clan's rape of a human. My mother abandoned me. It was my master who brought me into the immortal sword sect. But since I was young, I don't know how much suffering I have suffered, how much bullying I have suffered. Hate? I hate thousands of people, but what's the use? Hate is a superfluous existence." As she spoke, Hu Qianmei laughed again. Her laughter became more and more desolate. She could no longer kill Su Yin to vent her anger, unless she wanted to personally send herself to her grave. She understood that she was completely helpless against this person. "I worked hard to cultivate so that I would not be bullied by others. I did not expect God to treat me like this. I thought that my cultivation technique would be so successful that I would have no opponents. But I did not expect to fall into the hands of a small spirit intermediate disciple. How ironic." Su Yin did not say anything. Hu Qianmei stopped laughing after a while. She wanted to get down from Su Yun's body to retrieve the broken Blade Master clothes. But her body was in extreme pain. This mutual destruction of 5 elements not only offset her strength, but also the strength of her body. Hu Qianmei's eyes dimmed. She stopped moving as if she had given up. But at this time, a pair of big hands suddenly picked her up. Then, a white robe covered her delicate body. Hu Qianmei was startled. She turned her head to look. Chapter 69. In this world, there were many secrets that were not known to others. The mutual destruction of 5 elements was an example. Not many people knew about this special area. Currently, it was only recorded in the Blossom Heart Valley. The founder of Blossom Heart Valley had used the mutual destruction of 5 elements to refine a secret medicine. Therefore, he had studied this special area. The mutual annihilation of 5 elements in the Julian area was discovered 7 years later. However, when people found this mutual annihilation of 5 elements, they were surprised to find that this place had already been used as a graveyard for over 800 years. Although the mutual destruction of 5 elements was located in the center of a region, it wasn't fixed and the area wasn't large. It was very difficult to find its specific location. Usually, it was underground, so it wouldn't affect anyone and wasn't easy to use. Su Yin changed into his own black Blade Master clothes and wrapped Hu Qianmei in a white robe. Step by step, he walked out of the crystal room. Hu Qianmei did not say anything. She curled up her body, which was still slightly trembling. At this time, no one could kill anyone. Hu Qianmei's special physique gave Su Yun a lot of talent and cultivation. Similarly, Hu Qianmei also gained a lot. However, it was very small. After all, Su Yun's cultivation was not high. Hu Qianmei could not kill Su Yun. Su Yun was also the same. Otherwise, his talent would be damaged. After leaving the mutual destruction of 5 elements, the two recovered their cultivation. I can't give you the heavenly crystal. Goodbye. Su Yun said. Hu Qianmei, who was wearing a white robe, smiled. Her smile was somewhat dry. It was not as bright and charming as before. Her cultivation was restored. The bruises on her body gradually healed. She already had the means to kill Su Yun. However, she did not do it. She understood her special physique better than anyone else. The man who obtained her body would also share her talent. Once he was killed, her talent would be crippled. She would not be able to recover it in this life. As a result, her cultivation path would also come to an end. This does not mean that this is the end. Su Yun, Hu Qianmei, will not acknowledge you like this. Perhaps you won't rely on this to restrict me and continue to use me. However, you will not succeed so easily. The world's secret techniques are endless. I will remove the benefits of the dual cultivation physique. I will let you have nothing to do with me. At that time, I will personally kill you, destroy you. Hu Qianmei said with squinted eyes. Ordinary people would not be able to see the bone-chilling hatred in the depths of her charming eyes. But in the next second, a large hand pinched her tender and smooth little face. Oh, Hu Qianmei subconsciously covered her small face. She was startled. She opened her mouth and felt that she could not say anything else. However, the man directly stepped onto the stone steps and left. He actually didn't say a word and was extremely carefree. Was he not afraid? Hu Qianmei stood in place, quietly watching him leave. Kacha, kacha, kacha. The sound of a spirit stallion galloping resounded under the moonlight. 1 man and 1 horse galloped towards the direction of the Su outer sect. Plop! Su Yun opened the limitless sword sheath and took out the limitless sword arts. Done? The sword elder coughed a few times and said in a serious manner, how shameless. You have no right to call me that. Although this old man used to be dissolute, but I have never used force like you. The sword elder laughed. You are so shameless. Does your Qing heir know? Plop. The limitless sword sheath closed, and the sword arts were thrown inside. Su Yun fiercely took a deep breath and continued to rush forward. Spirit novice disciple, spirit intermediate disciple, spirit core disciple, spirit soul disciple, spirit star disciple, spirit sovereign, sky spirit master, spirit emperor, spirit saint, spirit immortal, spirit god. These 11 realms, the further one went, the more difficult it would be to cultivate. The difference in strength between realms would also be huge. According to the rumors, a first-stage spirit soul disciple could tear 3 10th-stage spirit core disciple into pieces with their bare hands. His current realm was 4th-stage spirit intermediate disciple. He had 1,972 spirit essences, which was 800 more than an ordinary 4th-stage spirit intermediate disciple. Not only that, he also had 17 earth spirit essences. An ordinary 4th-stage spirit intermediate disciple only had 3 earth spirit essences. His profound spirit chi was also enhanced by the crescent moon fruit, 5 consummate pills, and other medicines. It was 3 times thicker than an ordinary 4th-stage spirit intermediate disciple. His profound spirit chi recovery speed was a lot faster. If he did not use the heavenly crystal, even if he met a 5th-stage spirit intermediate disciple, he would still be able to fight. But if he met a 6th-stage spirit intermediate disciple, he would have to find a way to escape. The everlasting stone only increased his cultivation speed and did not increase his strength. The only thing he could rely on was the heavenly crystal. This was Su Yun's only way to save his life if he met an expert. In the Sky Martial Continent, a 4th-stage spirit intermediate disciple could only be considered an ordinary existence. If he wanted to go out, he would need to be at least 8th-stage spirit intermediate disciple. But then again, his treasures were really rare. Other than the engraved dragon blade and the heavenly crystal, he did not have any other treasures. The strength of a treasure was also a part of one's strength. Sometimes, it could produce unexpected results. Suyin touched his chin and thought for a while. His mind suddenly thought of a good treasure. The heavenly crystal was a treasure with infinite power. Countless people coveted it. However, it was not an invincible existence. In fact, there was another treasure that could rival the heavenly crystal, the sprite's shadow. When people were bitterly searching for the whereabouts of the heavenly crystal in Crescent Valley, there was news of the birth of the sprite's shadow. It was said that it did not lose to the heavenly crystal in terms of power. According to the information that I knew, to search for the sprite's shadow, I need to be at least a 5th stage spirit intermediate disciple. I am still lacking 1 stage. I should concentrate on training for a period of time. Suyin secretly pondered. Although with his current cultivation level, he could already start searching for the sprite's shadow. However, in some aspects, a 5th stage spirit chi was much safer than a 4th stage spirit chi. He only had 1 life. It was best to be safe. If he had no other choice, he would not take the risk. Very quickly, Suyin returned to the outer sect. Hu Qianmei did not follow. Since she could not obtain the heavenly crystal, she did not dare to kill Suyin. There was no meaning in continuing to pester him. She was afraid that he was already on his way back to the Ming-Ing school. Back in the outer sect, the surveillance from a main house did not decrease. However, Suyin did not care and continued to train. Of course, he did not dare to train in the limitless sword arts. He was waiting for those people to get bored and run off to drink. Only then would he start training. Other than the limitless sword arts, the heaven-splitting sword technique could not be stopped. Among the mystical fighting techniques, it was considered a more practical technique. After training in the outer sect's training grounds for more than 10 days, his control of pure divine spirit chi became more stable and skillful. The heaven-splitting sword technique also had some small success. He could split out a sword image. However, the sword image's maximum attack range was only 1 meter. In other words, if the enemy was 1 meter away, he would not be able to rely on the sword image to attack. But even so, it was enough. In a short period of 10 days, he was able to reach the beginner stage of a mystical technique. This was already the cultivation speed of a god-level talent. For an ordinary person to cultivate a mystical technique, it would take at least a year. The reason why Suyin was able to cultivate so quickly was not only because his talent had been removed, but also because of the everlasting stone and Hu Qianmei's talent. Hu Qianmei shared at least 50% of her talent with him. Suyin estimated his current talent index. It was at least 6 times that of an ordinary person. 6 times? What kind of concept was that? Using the simplest way of thinking to understand it, 1 day of cultivation was equivalent to 6 days of cultivation for an ordinary person. Even the so-called geniuses were not this terrifying. Cultivating in the outer sect was quiet and lonely. Xinu and Xingyang took the blood jade crystal and successfully entered the inner sect. They enjoyed the treatment of the inner sect and obtained better cultivation conditions. After a period of adaptation, the 2 left the inner sect and ran to Su Yun's place to visit him. The 2's clothes had some changes. At least, they were wearing new clothes. Their complexion was glowing, their eyes were full of spirit, and their hair was black. It was obvious that they had eaten a good pill. When the 2 arrived, they brought a lot of items and spirit coins to give to Su Yun, but he rejected them all. The 3 of them sat in the broken house. Xinu prepared the spirit tea that she had brought for Su Yun and poured a cup for him. Big brother Su Yun, this is a spirit leaf from the inner sect. After using it to make tea, it can increase your spirit aura by a lot. If you drink it for 3 days, you will be able to open a spirit essence. At most, you can open up to 5 spirit essences. There are many benefits. You must remember to drink it often in the future. Su Xinu said while pouring the tea. Let's talk about this later. Su Yun smiled and then asked, That's right, in the inner sect. Did you follow my instructions and inquire about the people that the patriarch and the inner sect have received? This. Su Xinu and Xingyang looked at each other. Then Su Xinu shook her head. During this time, the patriarch and the inner sect have not received anyone. Is that so? Su Yun bowed his head and thought. Oh, that's right. Big brother, I heard that the patriarch's 3rd son has been pestering Sister Qing'er. Sister Ching Er is very distressed. At this time, Su Xianyu suddenly said, "The patriarch's third son?" Su Yin slightly frowned. "Huh? Young Master Su Huiyu. Big brother, don't tell me you haven't heard of him?" Xing Yang shouted. Su Huiyu? Su Yin had a slight impression of him in his memory. It was said that this was a cunning and sharp mind, but at the same time, he was extremely timid. His appearance could not be considered outstanding, so he was not favored by women. However, he relied on his identity as the patriarch's son to toy with many girls. His cultivation was not high, but he was a bit clever. Since Su Mo Sha's mysterious death, this guy has been pestering Sister Ching Er. "Big brother Yun, I heard that this guy is very close to Su Gue Mu. These two guys are not good people. You have to tell Sister Ching Er to be careful." Su Xianyu said, Yes, big brother Yun. When Miss Ching Er comes, you have to tell her to be careful." Xing Yang echoed. "Ching Er, she should be in the patriarch, right? Although Su Mo Sha is dead, it will not be easy for her to come to the outer sect. AI, now that you mention it, I remember that Sister Ching Er left the Su family yesterday." Su Xianyu suddenly said, "Left the Su family? Where did she go?" "Not sure. Is it because of the patriarch's mission?" "Mission? I heard from a maid from the patriarch that Sister Ching Er will represent the Su family to go to the Purple Star Academy for an academic exchange." Su Xianyu said, "Purple Star Academy?" Su Yin lowered his head to think. Suddenly, his brain flashed with a piece of news regarding the Purple Star Academy. It was the biggest accident that happened in the 500 years of the Academy's history. Because of the storm, the news spread far and wide. Su Yin also heard about it and remembered the date. It seemed that it happened in the middle of October. "That's right. What's today's date?" Su Yin casually asked. "Today? Star year 1001, October 13th. What's wrong, big brother Su?" Chapter 70. He remembered that in his previous life, the Su family did not send Ching Er to the Purple Star Academy for an academic exchange. But in this life, it was her turn. Was it the butterfly effect? Perhaps Su Mo Sha's death had an impact on the selection of the academic exchange participants. Su Yin did not know the exact date of the incident, but it was around 20 days ago. He still remembered that the Su family was also involved in this incident, and it was likely that the person who was sent for the academic exchange had also died in this sudden situation. Thinking of this, Su Yin suddenly stood up. "Big brother, what are you doing?" Xianyu and Xing Yang looked at him inexplicably. Xianyu, Xing Yang, you're now inner sect disciples. A lot of things are more convenient for you than me. How about this? You quickly prepare 100 ungraded iron swords for me. The lightest kind. The quality does not need to be good, as long as it can kill. Right, the sword must be as bright as snow, as bright as a mirror. Can you handle it? 100 swords? Xing Yang and Xianyu were shocked. There should be some in the inner sect's arsenal, but taking 100 swords. I'm afraid it's not appropriate. No problem, big brother Su Yun. We received some wages. If the arsenal is not enough, we can go to the inner sect store to buy some more. Purchase? Su Yun heard this and bluntly took out all the spirit coins from his storage ring and placed them on the table. After calculating it, it was only around 3,000 spirit coins. Although it was not much, it was enough to buy 100 ungraded swords. You guys take it first. Su Yin pushed the money over. Seeing this, the two siblings waved their hands and said they were willing to pay for Su Yun. However, after Su Yun repeatedly asked, they finally accepted. Can you prepare it for me in 3 hours? Su Yun asked. 3 hours? Xing Yang was surprised. Probably not a problem. Xianyu thought for a moment and nodded. That's good. Thank you for your hard work. In 3 hours, I will wait for you here. If you can't gather 100 swords in 3 hours, then it doesn't matter. However much you have, the more the better. Oh, okay. The two siblings were confused. They did not know what Su Yun was planning to do. But as long as it was Su Yun, they would not ask too many questions, nor would they reject him. In their hearts, Su Yun was not only their big brother, but also their benefactor who had saved them many times. The two of them quickly went to prepare, while Su Yun brought the spirit stallion and prepared some fodder to feed the stallion. After feeding the stallion, he went to the external housework office to find a task. The location of the task was a plain not far from the Purple Star Academy. Of course, the mission was just a cover. His main goal was still the Purple Star Academy. The Sioux family was monitoring him. If he left the Sioux family for no reason, he would definitely attract attention. If it was anyone else going to the Purple Star Academy, Su Yun would not ask. But this time, it was Ching Er who was going. No matter what, he had to let her avoid the conflict that was about to happen. Su Yun did not have many relatives in this world. The only people he cared about were Ching Er and the Yu Yang siblings. After receiving the task, he returned to the small wooden house. Soon, the Yu Yang siblings came back with a large number of iron swords and handed them over to Su Yun. Su Yun counted them carefully. There were exactly 100 swords. Immediately, he was overjoyed. He placed all of them into his storage ring, causing his storage ring to be filled to the brim. Everything was ready. He mounted the spirit stallion and rushed out of the Su family. Big brother Su Yun, where are you going? Xian was a little worried as she looked at Su Yun disappearing from the bronze road. I don't know. Xing Yang shook his head. Ching Er led the Su family's representatives to the mystical mountain range, to the Purple Star Academy. To go to the mystical mountain range, they needed to pass through the Great Cyan District. The journey would take at least 10 days. But Ching Er and the rest were riding on a higher-ranked spirit beast, the single-horned bull. Regardless of speed, strength, or endurance, it was more than twice as fast as the spirit stallion. The efficiency of the journey was also very fast. If Su Yun needed 10 days, they would only need 5 days to arrive. But Su Yun traveled day and night. He only rested when he was tired. Ching Er and the rest of the group walked and stopped. Along the way, they had to pay a visit to a lot of influential families that had a good relationship with the Su family. The journey would be delayed for a lot of time. Maybe they could reach the destination a day earlier than the representatives. After a few days, the spirit stallion carried a black blade master robe and half of his face out of the Julian district towards the Great Cyan district. On the 4th day, the blazing sun hung high in the sky. The spirit stallion that had been running for a few hours was panting madly. It almost rolled its eyes. Seeing this, Su Yun hurriedly stopped. He took out the fodder that was tied to the spirit stallion and fed it. He also took out a bottle of spirit leaf tea and poured it into his mouth. One man and one horse caught their breath. Su Yun raised his eyes and looked into the distance, sizing up the surroundings. A road that was covered with gravel led to a distant hill. On both sides were weeds. Not a single person could be seen. It was truly desolate. They should be reaching the Great Cyan District soon. After resting for a while, the spirit stallion ate its fill. Its energy was restored. Once again, it mounted the spirit stallion and hurried on its way. However, when it reached the hill, a burst of crackling noises could be heard. Hearing this, Su Yun frowned. He hurriedly pulled the spirit stallion and dismounted. Taking out the engraved dragon blade, he carefully approached the other side of the hill. As he neared the hill, the wind that blew carried a strong smell of blood. From time to time, the miserable screams and angry sounds of killing could be heard. Wearing half of his face, Su Yun carefully poked his head out and looked toward the other side of the hill. He saw that on the other side, there were close to 100 spirit cultivators mixed together. They were engaged in a life and death battle. The ground was littered with corpses. There were men and women. The weeds under their feet were dyed red with blood. The ground was also filled with all kinds of gorgeous mystical techniques. The scene was very intense. Su Yun carefully sized up the people fighting. He realized that one side of the people were all bare-chested. Their hands were holding on tiger blades. Their profound spirit chi was mainly based on the true divine spirit chi. On the other side, the people were all dressed in bright silver armor. Their chi was many and varied. Their weapons were not the same. However, seeing that they were gathered around a luxurious carriage pulled by a purple-horned beast, Su Yun could guess that these people belonged to some big family or powerful guards. It was a very simple play. The bandits were robbing the road. Both sides were fighting endlessly. There was nothing for him to do. Su Yun shook his head. He turned around and mounted his horse. He planned to take a detour. Swoosh! At this time, a strange sound suddenly sounded. Suyin looked towards the direction of the sound. He only saw the carriage pulled by the purple horned beast. Suddenly, a black stone the size of a palm flew out. The stone flew in the air and began to spin nonstop. Circles of red light burst out from the stone. Then, he heard the stone suddenly let out a roar like that of a leopard. Just as the sound faded, the stone shattered. A fire leopard that was glowing in red light appeared. It fell from the sky and fell into the crowd. It immediately opened its mouth and spat out flames in all directions. The surrounding spirit cultivators were caught off guard. They were spat out by the fire leopard. Their bodies started to burn, and they rolled on the ground in pain. The fire was extremely powerful. A few spirit cultivators brought along water element treasures and immediately unleashed it, but the water element treasures were unable to extinguish the ferocious flames, and many of them were burned alive in a charcoal. It was extremely miserable. Suyun's eyes widened. This fire leopard, was it the soul stone? The fire leopard was extremely fierce. It constantly spat out flames in all directions. Its profound spirit chi was inclined towards the Scarlet Star spirit chi. The temperature of the profound spirit chi was extremely high. Ordinary water could not extinguish it. The situation was somewhat reversed. The bandits had suffered heavy losses. The armor guards saw this, and their morale rose. They killed even more fiercely. It's just a lowly spirit stone technique. You dare to show off in front of an expert? Eat my move. At this time, a thunderous roar resounded. Then, a black-faced man rushed out and slashed at the fire leopard with a saber. Chila! The mighty flame leopard was sliced into two halves by the saber. Puchi! The sound of someone vomiting blood came out from the carriage. Suyin saw this, and his face darkened. Although the slash just now was simple, it was extremely extraordinary. The big man's slash had not yet reached the fire leopard, but the thick chi on the blade had already spread out. It suppressed the fire leopard, making it unable to dodge. Then, it was killed in one slash. The big man's cultivation was at least at the 9th stage of the spirit core disciple, and that spirit stone was most likely used by a beginner. The spirit stone was a type of refined product that was of a higher grade than a magic tool. The spirit stone master could carve a spirit stone with spirit power and create a powerful spirit stone. During a battle, he could summon the spirit stone to fight. The material of the stone, the engraved spirit object, and the cultivation of the spirit stone master all determined the strength of the spirit stone. However, the creation of the spirit stone was not as widespread as the magic tools. Because the spirit stone technique was passed down from generation to generation, it was difficult for ordinary people to come into contact with it. In the entire continent, people who could learn the spirit stone technique were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Suyin did not expect to meet a spirit stone master here. This person must be from a spirit stone family. Suyin touched his chin and started to think. If he could save this person, he might be able to get on good terms with the family. Who knows, it might be helpful in the future. Just that. It was obviously impossible to just rush forward and fight. If the big man could kill the fire leopard in one slash, he could also kill the fire leopard in one slash. His cultivation was not even as high as the fire leopard's. How could he defeat the enemy? The fight was still intense, but the bandits had completely taken control of the battle. After thinking for a while, he had an idea. He could only rely on that move. Suyin heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he rode on his stallion and retreated down the hill. Then he dismounted and opened his storage ring. He took out 100 sharp iron swords from his storage ring and threw them on the ground. The snow-white swords scattered on the ground and pieced together to form a large mirror. Under the sunlight, it was particularly dazzling. After calming his mind, he retreated and stroked the iron mask on his face. Then, he stood in the middle of the swords. Then he shouted. His whole body burst forth with profound spirit chi. Pure divine spirit chi was like a thin thread that wrapped around these iron swords. Kacha, kacha, kacha. In an instant, all the iron swords trembled. Chapter 71. Kacha, kacha, kacha. As Suyin released more and more pure divine spirit chi, the frequency of the iron swords trembling increased. The sound of hundreds of iron swords colliding with each other was incomparably ear-piercing. In the midst of the fierce battle, there were already a few people who noticed that something was wrong. Using chi to control the swords was the most basic technique of the limitless sword arts. However, it was not considered brilliant. The reason why the limitless sword arts was so powerful was that it could control hundreds of millions of swords. There was a fundamental difference between controlling multiple swords and controlling one. The person who controlled multiple swords had to learn how to split and disperse the pure divine spirit chi. He had to evenly distribute his own chi and establish a connection with the flying swords. Although Su Yun had all kinds of opportunities to increase his cultivation, he still had a long way to go before he could learn the first sword. He was unable to withstand multiple swords in such a short amount of time. After all, the amount of chi required was too large. If he forcefully used it, it would only cause his chi channels to rupture and his cultivation to regress. Although that was the case, if it was an extremely light and ordinary iron sword, then it would be completely different. He did not need to attack, and his chi channels would be able to withstand it. These 100 swords were all ordinary swords. Although they looked sharp on the outside, they were all inferior goods. Using pure divine spirit chi to control them was extremely simple. It did not require much pure divine spirit chi. Su Yun concentrated and constantly activated pure divine spirit chi to spread out and cover the iron swords. His nerves were taut, and he clenched his teeth. His face was overflowing with perspiration. Slowly, the iron swords rose up one by one. They trembled as they floated in the air and revolved around Su Yun's body. Very good. Su Yun was overjoyed. This time, he did not have the slightest intention of conserving his pure divine spirit chi. All of his spirit essences were opened. The pure divine spirit chi in his chi channels was like a surging sea. Finally, when the released pure divine spirit chi reached a certain amount, all the iron swords stabilized. They did not move. They just floated beside Su Yun. Under the sunlight, every sword was shining brightly. It was very frightening. However, this was just a technique that looked good but was useless. Su Yun's cultivation was low. His profound spirit chi was considered extremely dense among the same level of existence. But when it came to controlling 100 flying swords, it was still very rare. These swords could fly, but they could not kill the enemy. Even if they flew a little faster, Su Yun would have a hard time. But even so, it was enough. Su Yun took a deep breath and took out the limitless sword arts again. He called out the sword elder who was in deep slumber and allowed him to activate the limitless sword arts, spirit chi, to the maximum. Then, he placed the sword arts on his chest and shielded his own spirit chi. Then, he rode on the 100 flying swords and leaped up. When the bandits who were still fighting saw this magnificent scene, they were all stunned. Over 100 flying swords were flying in the air. Who had ever seen such a method? What is this? Those swords, why? Why are they floating in the air? Is it a riding skill? Controlling skill? To control so many weapons, how much profound spirit chi does one need? The bandits were terrified, and even the armored guard were dumbstruck. Audacious bandits! You actually dare to do such a thing in broad daylight? Quickly scram. Otherwise, this exalted one will make a move and annihilate all of you. With that said, Su Yun waved his hand. The flying swords that were floating around him immediately flew into the sky. They continued to spin. The sword edge trembled, and the sound of crackling could not be heard. The scene was extremely grand. What technique is this? Beside the carriage pulled by the purple-horned beast, a pale-faced young man wearing a purple robe walked out. Seeing this scene, he could not help but be stunned. Young master, it seems like this almighty being is here to help us. The servant, who was scared to the point of peeing his pants, ran over and said happily, "Very good, very good." The purple-robed young master was overjoyed. Although the bandits were so scared that their legs were trembling, the leader of the bandits did not reveal any trace of fear. He stared at Su Yun and snorted disdainfully. Just a show. If you really are an almighty being, why would you waste words with us? If you really have the ability, come and fight me for 300 rounds. If you don't have the ability, hurry up and scram. Otherwise, I don't mind taking one more head back to the village to make tea. Oh, just a show? Suyin was not angry. He extended his hand into the sword sheath on his back and took out another sword. Engraved dragon blade. The sword with the engraved dragon on it was illuminated by the sun. It emitted a golden aura. The dragon on the sword body was very lifelike, as though it was about to escape from the sword. The bandit leader was startled. He felt that the hundreds of swords that were flying in the sky and the divine sword that was just taken out were worlds apart. However, before he could think any further, a thunderous roar resounded by his ear. Roar! The bandit leader jumped in fright. At this time, the scenery around him suddenly turned black. He did not know what space he was in. A huge dragon was circling in front of him. That endless, imposing aura, that supreme pressure, was like a mountain pressing down on him. The bandit leader finally could not help but tremble. The surrounding bandits saw their boss revealing a look of fear. His face was pale, and they were all scared stiff. Scram! A cold shout sounded out. The bandits could not hold on any longer. One by one, they turned around and ran away. Their panic cries could be heard nonstop. Suyun's face was pale. He was still controlling the bandit leader with the engraved dragon sword. However, the bandit leader's cultivation was too high. He was afraid that the engraved dragon sword's spiritual attack would not be able to hold him for long. Seeing that the other bandits had already run far away, he did not dare to hesitate anymore. He rushed to the dazed armored guards and shouted, "Do it! Kill him! Quickly do it!" The purple-gowned young master on the carriage also hastily yelled. The armored guards were all startled. They quickly leaped forward with all kinds of swords and spears. Activating their mystical techniques, the spirit chi mixed with the river and rushed towards the bandit leader. Bang! At this time, the dragon's illusion was shattered by the bandit leader. He had already realized that all of this was just a spiritual attack. At most, it could only scare him. There was no other effect. Immediately, he became angry and struggled to break free. Motherf asterisk Kerr. This guy is just a fake. He does not have any real ability. Brothers, don't be afraid. Come with me, the bandit leader shouted. However, after his voice faded, the surroundings became silent. The bandit leader hastily looked around. He could not see a single bandit's figure. Instead, the armored guards had already rushed forward to kill him. What happened? The bandit leader was surprised. But before he could think, the group of people had already arrived. The bandit leader had no choice but to raise his sword to meet them. Although his cultivation level was high, there was no lack of experts among the armored guards. In addition, this purple-robed young master was rich and had many strange magical treasures. Under the siege of everyone, the bandit leader finally died with a grudge. It was indeed a fake, but ordinary bandits could not see through it. In addition, the engraved dragon sword's spiritual attack had caught the bandit leader unprepared. When the bandits saw that their boss was hit, how could they not tremble? They did not dare to stay any longer. One by one, they ran away. Although this person is dead, but those bandits are still alive. We need to quickly leave. If we wait for those bandits to return, it will be bad. Wait for us to return to the Mu family. Father will definitely send experts to wipe out all the bandits here. The purple-gowned young master held his aching chest and said, "Yes, young master." The armored guards all shouted. Suyun kept the iron sword in his spatial ring. Although the scene just now looked very awesome, it was truly frightening. But even so, he had consumed a lot of pure divine spirit aura, and his condition was not considered good. The purple-gowned young master jumped down from the carriage. Ignoring the servant's support, he quickly walked towards Suyun. When he was in front of Suyun, he respectfully and seriously clasped his hands. "Benefactor's help. Mu Feng is unable to repay you. Benefactor, please accept Mu Feng's bow." With that, the purple-gowned young master bowed deeply. Suyun hurriedly helped him up. He revealed an awkward smile. Seeing injustice, I pulled out my sword to help. Furthermore, I did not help much. That was just a feint. If we were to fight, I would not be the bandit leader's opponent. Benefactor's words are incorrect. If Benefactor hadn't appeared in time and forced those bandits to retreat, How could the situation have turned around like this? Mu Feng said, Benefactor, please leave your life. I will repay you in the future. My name is Limitless. Su Yin hid his real name. Limitless? Mu Feng murmured. Looking at the half-iron mask on this person's face, he nodded. Mu Feng is from the mystical mountain ranges Mu clan. My father is Mu Tian Hao. Benefactor wears a mask. There must be something that cannot be said. It is inconvenient to show your true appearance. How about this? Mu Feng will give Benefactor a token. If Benefactor has any difficulties in the future, you can come to the Mu clan to find me. Although Mu Feng is weak, I will do my best to help. With that, Mu Feng took out a dragon-engraved jade pendant from his waist and gave it to Su Yun. Mu clan? Su Yun was surprised. He never thought that the young man in front of him was actually from the Great Sian District, Julian District, and Mystical Mountain Range's strongest and oldest soulstone family, the Mu clan. In the three big districts, the Mu clan was definitely not inferior to the Su family. The Mu clan was not only a soulstone family with thousands of years of history, but also had a close relationship with the Shanha kingdom outside of the Great Sian District. The Mu clan had a complicated network of people. Every sect had people. It could be said that even the Immortal Sword sect could not provoke them. If that was the case, then this deal was done. In the future, when he brought Qing Air away from the Su family, maybe he could find some protection in the Mu clan. Although it was not difficult to bring Qing Air away now, he could not be too short-sighted. Qing Air was a tool for the marriage between the Su family and the Profound Sky sect. She was a sacrifice for the sections. Her existence was extremely important. So once Qing Air left, Su Yun would not only have to face the Su family, but also the Profound Sky sect, whose strength was unprecedented. If the Su family and the Profound Sky sect merged, it would be enough to dominate the three big districts. Even the Mu clan might not dare to contend against them. Thinking about that, Su Yun kept his surprised expression and revealed a smile. So, it's the young master of the Mu clan. I have eyes but failed to see. Nice to meet you. Benefactor, you are too polite. May I ask where Benefactor is heading to? Su Yun hesitated for a moment and said, Purple Star Academy. What a coincidence. I am also heading to the Purple Star Academy for an academic exchange. If Benefactor does not mind, would you like to go with me? Mu Feng laughed. Su Yun looked at the purple-horned beast carriage, then looked at the treasured armor guards and the dead single-horn bull. He took a deep breath and said, No need. I have urgent matters to attend to. If I were to travel with you, I am afraid I will be delayed. So I will leave first. Since that's the case, then Mu Feng will not hold you back. Benefactor, we will meet again at the Purple Star Academy. See you. With that, Su Yun mounted the spirit stallion and galloped away. Mu Feng stood quietly in front of the purple-horned beast and looked at the distant figure. Young master, who was that guy? That mystical technique just now was so strange. A servant at the side came over and asked carefully. I don't know. Mu Feng shook his head. But isn't it good to be friends? Hurry up and pack up. Let's go. Yes, young master. Chapter 72. After a few days of trekking in wind and rain, Su Yun finally arrived at the bustling city of Mystical Mountain Range, Elemental Fire City. The city belonged to the Mountain River Kingdom. The city was huge and occupied a lot of land in Mystical Mountain Range. The southern side of the Mystical Mountain Range faced the sea. Therefore, the Elemental Fire City had a convenient transportation system that extended in all directions. In addition to the world-famous Purple Star Academy, the Elemental Fire City was bustling with noise and excitement. Looking at the city from afar, one could see the city walls that were more than 40 meters high. The walls were covered with sparkling crystals. Under the light, the crystals shined with a colorful luster. The gate was very spacious. People came in and out, and the traffic was endless. Su Yun was wearing a Blade Master outfit and a mask. Because of the special nature of the city, there were many spirit cultivators here. There were people from all over the world. Su Yun believed that, because of this, there was an opportunity for those thieves to take advantage of. Su Yun did not dare to waste time. He rode his stallion and entered the city. Horses were not allowed in the city, so he put the stallion in the stable and followed the people to the Purple Star Academy in the center of the city. Spirit Cultivation Inn, Shilai Grocery Store, Drunken Autumn Restaurant, Black Horse Casino. On both sides of the street, there were dazzling shops. In Elemental Fire City, gambling was not against the rules. Therefore, the casinos were opened on the side of the street. Of course, the people who came in and out were not ordinary people, but students. Close to the academy, the streets were filled with young and tender faces, brimming with the aura of youth. Men and women flowed endlessly beside Suyun. The academy was not a sect. The people it recruited were completely different from the sections. The academy still had powerful experts and experienced teachers to teach. They provided everything needed for cultivation. There were even people who specialized in mystical techniques or other spirit techniques. There were many things that the sects did not have. Furthermore, the Purple Star Academy's conditions for recruiting students were not too harsh. As long as one's talent met their requirements and paid a certain amount of tuition fees, they could enter the academy to further their studies. The semester was a 5-year system, and after 5 years, no matter what realm they had reached, they would graduate even if their cultivation level was stagnant. Compared to the lifelong system of the sects, the academy had its own security measures. Suyun walked a few rounds before he arrived at the entrance of the Purple Star Academy. Just as he was about to enter, he saw that the students guarding the entrance were inspecting the tokens on the waists of the students. Looking at the situation, it seemed that without a token, one would not be able to enter the academy. Suyun thought for a while, then turned around and went to the shop opposite the academy to borrow a pen. On a piece of paper, he wrote down the attack that was going to happen in a few days so that the people in the academy could take precautions as soon as possible. After he finished writing, he hesitated for a while at the inscription, but in the end, he did not write his name. After he was done, Suyun walked to the street and looked around. A fat man with big ears appeared in his line of sight. Immediately, Suyun walked over quickly. "Student, please wait," Suyun shouted. However, Fatty did not turn around. He continued to move his fat body slowly. "Young man, please wait." The voice rang out again. The fatty's ears twitched. He anxiously turned his head and looked around, his gaze landing on Suyun, who was walking over. He shamelessly asked, "Did you call me?" "Yes." Suyun's mouth twitched as he said against his will, "Brother, your eyes are like a torch. Most people would not be able to see my beauty just by looking at it. I'm afraid that brother will be extraordinary in the future," Fatty said with a serious face. "You flatter me. May I ask why brother is looking for me?" "I have a letter that concerns the safety of the academy. Due to various reasons, I'm unable to enter the academy to deliver it to the dean. After thinking about it, I can only let the students of the academy pass it on. Although there are countless students of the academy, I only saw you in the crowd. I feel that's such a great task. Only a talented person like you cannot accomplish it. So, I hope you will not decline and accept this important task." Suyun took out the letter that he had previously written and solemnly handed it over to Fatty. Once Fatty heard and saw the letter, his face immediately became solemn. He was seen trembling as he took the letter and earnestly said, "I will not disappoint you." Everyone knew how to boast, but it was rare to see someone fly up to the top. Fatty solemnly barged into the inner courtyard and slammed the letter on the dean's table. So, because he trespassed into the dean's courtyard, he violated the rules of the academy and was punished by the academy. Suyun, who was lingering outside the academy, also heard about it. From this, he knew that the dean should have received the letter. But after waiting outside the academy for nearly a day, there was still no movement within the academy. There was no increase in the number of guards. Everything was the same as before. Suyun knew that perhaps the dean treated the letter as a joke and did not care. Also, for hundreds of years, Elemental Fire City had always been peaceful and peaceful. What kind of turmoil had there been? Not to mention the Purple Star Academy. If I had known earlier, I would have asked Mu Feng to write this letter. With the Mu family's name, I believe that the Purple Star Academy would have accepted it. Suyun could not help but sigh. In fact, whether it was Elemental Fire City or Purple Star Academy, he did not care about these existences. He only cared about the safety of Qing Air. He wanted to persuade Qing Air to leave, but Qing Air was representing the Su family. If she left, the consequences would be even more serious. So the only way was to prevent this from happening. Thinking about this, Su Yun immediately went to inquire about the time of the Purple Star Academy's exchange. 3 days later, calculating carefully, it was just about the time that Mu Feng would arrive. Mu Feng arrived here and went straight to the exchange. There was no time to find him. Furthermore, Mu Feng came to warn him, and the results would not be good. It was better to prepare early and bring Qing Air away. If there was a riot, it would be reasonable for Qing Air to leave, and the Su family would not blame her. Thinking about this, Su Yun immediately rushed to Elemental Fire City's market. He did not have much money on him, so Su Yun used his remaining money to buy some materials. Using the spring crystal furnace, he refined a few special pills that were rarely sold in Blossom Heart Valley. There were many rich students in the academy, and they had a great need for good pills. A few pills were quickly exchanged for 2,000 spirit coins. Taking the spirit coins, he went into Elemental Fire City's Sky Sun auction house. About half an hour later, Su Yun brought a pile of demon organs and blood out of the auction house. So, the location of the preparations had to be somewhere not far from the exchange. Since that was the case, he still had to sneak into the Purple Star Academy. However, what made him feel relieved was that, other than the patrolling guards, to enter the Purple Star Academy, he only needed to pass the inspection at the entrance. The Purple Star Academy was famous far and wide. Many people came because of its reputation. Some of the students who did not come from well-off families would rent a badge outside the academy. After paying a few spirit coins, they could use their badge to enter the academy for a tour. Of course, time was limited. These students would greet the students who were in charge of the inspection at the entrance. Even if the student's badge did not look like their own, it did not matter. They only needed to return the badge within the stipulated time. If they exceeded the time limit, the student would immediately report the loss and report the crime of stealing the badge to the academy. The academy's security team would immediately investigate the matter and send all the information of the students who had not returned the badge to the Elemental Fire City patrol team. Because of this, no one dared to take the rented badge and not return it. After spending 100 spirit coins, Su Yun rented a badge. The time limit was 8 hours. With the badge, he swaggered into the Purple Star Academy. The academy was huge. Along the way, he could see many brightly dressed and pretty female students. The air was filled with profound spirit qi. He did not know who was emitting it, but it was either thin or thick. Su Yun, who was wearing a black Blade Master outfit and an iron mask, did not attract much attention. After all, there were many people who dressed like him. Although the Purple Star Academy was relatively open, there were still many places that students were not allowed to enter. For example, the principal's courtyard, the elite training grounds, and some of the trial grounds that were not open to the students. The venue where the academic exchange was about to take place was also temporarily closed at this moment. Not to mention the students, even most of the teachers were not allowed to enter. Su Yun wandered for most of the time. Looking at the countless courtyards and pavilions, he was a little confused. He could only walk in front of a group of female students wearing plain white uniforms. Dare I ask senior sisters, which direction is the academy's plaza? Su Yun's stature was tall and straight. In addition, during this period of cultivation, he had eaten a lot of good food. His body was very strong. His skin was the color of wheat. His eyes were bright and full of expression. Although half of his face was covered by a mask, he did not lose his handsomeness. Coupled with his Blade Master outfit, he looked even more elegant. A few of the female students' eyes lit up. Their cheeks were slightly red. They were extremely shy. Two of the courageous female students immediately giggled. One of them did not hesitate to point in the direction. Su Yun thanked them and hurried over. Hey, who is this person? Is he a new disciple? He looks very unfamiliar. Stupid girl, don't tell me you have a crush on someone else. Where? A few subtle curses could be heard, followed by a burst of sweet laughter. This kind of quiet academy was indeed many times better than the survival of the fittest sections. However, all of this was only temporary. Although the sects were cruel, their ability to face a crisis was very sufficient. The academy had been immersed in peaceful days for too long. When the time comes, it would be too late to resist. As he neared the academy's plaza, it was already very difficult to see any students. After all, the plaza had been sealed and the students could not enter. But Suyun's goal was not to enter the plaza. He walked around the plaza a few times and determined the place to set up the array, the academy's plaza in a small forest. Just as he stepped into the forest, he felt something was wrong. The forest was very quiet. There was not a single student. But Suyun felt as if there was someone secretly watching him. He calmed his mind and carefully walked in the forest. At the same time, he vigilantly observed his surroundings. So it was like that. After a moment, he suddenly understood. The academic exchange was about to begin. Representatives from all over the place would gather here. This place had already been set up early on. He was afraid that in the dark, there were already many experts from the Purple Star Academy. No wonder the dean was indifferent to what he had written. Even if he believed the contents of the letter, he would not take action because he had already prepared everything. Even so, Suyun was still worried. If the previous world was like this, there was obviously not enough. After thinking about it, Suyun could only choose a new location and begin his preparations. Chapter 73. The demonic dragon bone would be the array source, releasing the dark demonic energy contained within the dragon beast. The lower three pupil beasts I would be the array eye, with the array source as the head, the array eye as the center, and the black moon beast's blood as the canvas. When drawing the array, one had to be careful and serious so that the work of filling in the lines would be easier. There were many mystical techniques in Suyun's head. Currently, the simplest and most powerful one was the large number of array formations that he had learned from the Devil Sect. Array formations required demonic and demonic materials to be constructed, and the materials that were sold in the market were mostly produced by low-grade demonic materials. Because of the strong demonic nature, it could easily affect a person's mind and was classified as a forbidden item. Therefore, most of the high-grade demonic materials could not circulate in the market, and the items that could be bought were limited. Of course, the black market was an exception. This time, he did not need to set up a powerful array formation. After all, he was just bringing people away. Suyun did not have the intention to quell the unrest. This time, it was not like attacking the arrogant spirit sect, so the difficulty was much lower. Therefore, he only needed to set up a common devil sect blood dye array. The location that he chose to set up the array formation was a distance away from the academy's plaza. Suyun also patrolled the surroundings once, and realized that other than the occasional students passing by, no one else would come. When the students saw that Suyun was setting up the array formation, they only thought that it was an array formation student practicing, and did not ask much. 6 hours later, the sun gradually set, and the light was dim. Suyun stood up with his forehead full of sweat. The array formation only needed one last material to be activated. What he needed to do now was to cover up the array formation and wait for that day to come. Suyun took out a canvas and casually covered the array formation and pressed a few stones on it. The quality of the Purple Star Academy students was not bad. When they saw that someone used a canvas to cover the array formation, they knew that it was not completed. Under normal circumstances, they would not move it. After everything was ready, Suyun immediately left the academy and returned the student badge. The next step was to wait. Suyun took a deep breath, strolled along the busy streets, and headed towards the rented inn. He did not know if Ching Air and the rest had arrived. Calculating the time, they should have already entered the elemental fire city. As he was thinking, he suddenly saw a few familiar figures in front of him. A group of richly dressed men and women were walking together in their direction. These men and women were chatting and laughing as they discussed something with each other. On both sides of them, there were 4 guards dressed in the same leather armor and wielding green-grade treasured sabers. All of them had a jade token hanging from their waists with a single word engraved on it. Su family. Speak of the devil, and he will appear. Su-yin looked at the group of people walking towards him. These were the inner sect people and the main sect people. A few of the inner sect people were surrounding a white-skinned and weak young master who was laughing and talking about something. However, the young master ignored them and kept talking to a young girl who was wearing a snow-white blade master outfit and holding an embroidered sword in her hand. The young girl was exceptionally beautiful. She didn't wear any makeup, and although she didn't wear any makeup, her facial features were incomparably exquisite, especially her bright and beautiful eyes. They were full of spirituality like the stars, making it difficult for others to extricate themselves from them. Passers-by on both sides of the road frequently glanced at them. Even though the white-skinned and skinny young man was trying to please her, the young girl was indifferent. She just walked on and didn't talk to him. Su-yin stood in the same place and didn't move. As he got closer, he could hear the white-skinned and skinny young master's mouth continuously saying something. "Ching-er, it's really not what you think. That shop is definitely a black shop. This has nothing to do with me." "That's right, Miss Ching-er. The shop owner must have seen that Miss Ching-er is as beautiful as a fairy, so he drugged your wine. Fortunately, Miss Ching-er was alert and didn't drink the wine. Otherwise, the consequences would have been severe. Young Master Huiyu, we can't just let this matter go. You should immediately inform the Elemental Fire City's mayor and let him investigate this matter and give justice to Miss Ching-er." "That's right. We must seek justice for Miss Ching-er." The young men and women beside Su Huiyu said one after another. Although they didn't say much, Su-yin had already heard the gist of it. Just now, Ching-er and the Su family were eating in a restaurant. In the end, the alert Ching-er discovered that her wine was drugged and immediately left. The shop owner coveted Ching-er's beauty and drugged her? Who would believe such a lowly and childish excuse? Everyone knew who drugged her, but these Su family disciples all sided with Su Huiyu and exonerated him. Su Huiyu was the son of the Su family's patriarch and had an outstanding status. If they could form a relationship with him, it would be much more convenient for them to do anything in the Su family. Ching-er's heart was like a mirror, but she didn't expose them. She knew that even if she told them the truth, it would be useless. Ching-er lowered her head and walked forward, but her eyes were filled with a trace of frost. She had always been patient and had always been on guard, but she didn't know how long these days would last. Suddenly, Ching-er's sharp senses caught a pair of strange eyes looking at her. She hurriedly turned her head and saw that in a dark corner of the road, a man wearing a pitch-black Blade Master outfit and half an iron mask was quietly looking at her. Who is he? Why does he look so familiar? Ching-er was puzzled. "Ching-er, what's wrong?" Su Huiyu asked curiously. "Young Master Huiyu, nothing." Ching-er lowered her head and said. Su Huiyu was confused. He followed Ching-er's line of sight and saw the man with the iron mask. His face darkened and snorted. "What kind of dog are you? Keep your eyes away. If you look around again, I will dig them out." The man with the iron mask did not say a word. He slowly retreated and disappeared into the darkness. Che, he actually left just like that. Su Huiyu laughed disdainfully. The people at the side laughed out loud. Young Master Huiyu's aura is truly unparalleled. With just a shout, he made people walk away in shame. Amazing, amazing. Just average. Su Huiyu enjoyed the flattery and said proudly. A group of people leisurely walked towards the Purple Star Academy. They had arrived during the day and were received by the Purple Star Academy. The Purple Star Academy had already prepared a banquet for them, but Su Huiyu insisted on eating outside. Ching-er became suspicious, and that was what happened. The Elemental Fire City was extremely lively at night. Most of the Purple Star Academy students would choose to stroll around the night market after a day of classes and training. Some of them were just strolling for entertainment, looking for a suitable partner, while others were buying the ingredients for tomorrow's pills. People came and went in an unending stream. Su-yin quietly stood in a corner and looked at Su Huiyu and the others who were walking towards the Purple Star Academy. A trace of coldness flashed past his eyes. He lowered his head and thought for a while. Then, he took out a pen and paper and wrote a few words. Then, he walked towards Su Huiyu. Why is it you again?" Seeing Su-yin walking over, Su Huiyu was slightly startled. Get lost. Don't block our young master's way. The others shouted. Everyone's expression was filled with disgust. However, Su Yin did not pay any attention to him. He directly brushed past Su Huiyu and stuffed the slip of paper into Su Huiyu's hands. Read it alone. A hoarse voice fell into Su Huiyu's ears. Su Huiyu was startled. He turned around and saw that the person had already walked far away. What a strange person. The crowd did not notice Su Yun's small movements. Seeing that the person had actually left, they could not help but feel confused. Young master, what's wrong? What is that guy trying to do? The person beside him asked. I don't know. Su Huiyu's face was filled with suspicion. He secretly glanced at the paper in his hand. He could vaguely see a few words, so he hurriedly tightened the paper. Qing'er looked at Su Huiyu doubtfully. She did not say anything and continued walking towards the Purple Star Academy. After walking for a while, the crowd started to laugh and play again. No one noticed that Su Huiyu was secretly unrolling the paper in his hand and carefully looking at the words written on it. After seeing the words, Su Huiyu was startled. After rolling his eyes, he stopped in his tracks. Everyone was startled and looked at him. Everyone, you guys go back to the academy first. I suddenly remembered that I still have an old friend in Elemental Fire City. I forgot to pay him a visit. You guys go back first. I'll be back later. Friend. Qing'er slightly frowned. Why didn't you hear young master Huiyu mention this before? I forgot before. Su Huiyu laughed. Qing'er lowered her head and thought for a while. Her eyes flashed with vigilance, but she did not ask any more. She only nodded and walked towards the Purple Star Academy. Liuhe, Xiaofeng, you guys come with me. Oh yes, young master. Thus, the small group of people split into two groups. One group headed towards the Purple Star Academy, while the other group headed outside the Elemental Fire City. As night fell, there were no lights outside the city. It was pitch black, which made it seem strange. There were very few people who left the city at night. Su Liuhe and Su Xiaofeng, who followed Su Huiyu, could not help but feel a little scared. Young master, why is your friend staying outside the city? Su Xiaofeng, who wanted to be graceful and not warm, hugged his body and shivered. You trash, your spirit cultivation is so low. You can't even withstand the most basic cold? Su Huiyu scolded. Boss, you don't know. I heard that tonight there will be a chilling heart wind. The thing that blows from the chilling heart mountain range cannot be withstood by the profound spirit qi. Su Xiaofeng complained. Su Huiyu shook his head and ignored him. But then again, he also felt a little cold. It's more or less this place. Su Huiyu stopped in front of an open space a short distance away from the Elemental Fire City. Su Xiaofeng and Su Liuhe could not wrap their head around it. Young master, what are we doing here? Don't tell us that your friend lives here. Ha, what friend? I don't have a single friend here. Su Huiyu laughed nonstop. Look at this. Su Huiyu took out the paper that he crumpled into a ball and unfolded it. With the help of the weak light, the two of them widened their eyes and finally saw the words on it. Forbidden Medicine Master. If you need forbidden medicine, please wait outside the south gate of the Elemental Fire City. Forbidden Medicine Master? The two of them jumped in fright. Could it be? It can't be wrong. We're in luck. I didn't expect to meet a forbidden medicine master who secretly sells forbidden medicine. Su Huiyu's eyes flashed with a trace of haze. That slut Qing'er has a high cultivation. She can smell out normal aphrodisiacs. Only forbidden medicine can enter her mouth without a sound. That woman likes to pretend to be virtuous? After I buy the forbidden medicine, I'll let her drink it tonight. At that time, I could do whatever I want with her. Who asked her to pretend to be virtuous? So young master has such thoughts. Boss is wise. The two of them laughed. They were also looking forward to Su Huiyu's success. Would they be able to drink some soup? Tap! At this moment, a series of light footsteps could be heard. Then, a figure walked out from the shadows at the side. Su Huiyu looked over, and his eyes lit up. Hey, he's here. Chapter 74. The person who came was carrying a slender, pitch-black sword sheath. He was dressed in a black Blade Master outfit and wore an iron mask. His black hair fell to his shoulders, revealing a chin that looked like it was carved by a knife. His eyes were bright and full of expression. He was very handsome. What a young forbidden medicine master. Speaking of which, aren't forbidden pharmacists all old and wretched old men? Su Xiaofeng whispered. Who cares? Forbidden medicine masters are hard to come by. Normally, we can't even buy forbidden medicine even if we want to. Today, we can't miss it no matter what. Did you bring enough money? Buy as much as you can later. Su Huiyu spat out a mouthful of spittle. No problem, boss. Hee hee, I really want to see the effects of using the forbidden medicine on Qing Er, that slut. You'll see. Why get the first prize? I'll give the rest to you. Hearing this, the two of them were overjoyed and hurriedly shouted, Thank you, young master. Thank you, boss. Su Huiyu nodded. Then, he walked toward that person. After he stopped, he went straight to the point and shouted, Hey, you're a forbidden medicine master, right? What medicine do you have? 10 complete tonics, golden spear pill, 10 women's soup, dragon's vigor tiger's ointment, jade maiden's heart fall powder. I have plenty of supplies, everything you need. I just want to see if you've brought enough of what I want. The masked man whispered. Hearing that, Su Huiyu's eyes started to shine. His face was filled with joy. He repeatedly said, Good, good. I want all these things. All of them. Money was not a problem. I want them all. Deal. The masked man nodded. You pay first, then I'll give you the goods. Xiaofeng, pay up. Su Huiyu shouted in a straightforward manner. All right. Su Xiaofeng chuckled and ran over to take out the money. The iron-masked man frowned, but did not say anything. A spirit ticket worth 70,000 spirit coins was handed over. The iron-masked man accepted it without batting an eyelid. Master, where are the goods? Su Huiyu said impatiently. I'll get it now. The iron-masked man said in a low voice, his hand slowly reaching into his storage ring. Su Huiyu and the other two anxiously looked at Su Yun's hand. The three of them were extremely impatient and thirsty. Suddenly, Su Huiyu seemed to have reacted. He raised his head and curiously asked Su Yun, Speaking of which, how did you know that I needed these medicines? With that, Su Xiaofeng and Su Yoha were both shocked. They stared at Su Yun vigilantly. But in the next second, the hand that had reached into the storage ring suddenly shook. It touched the sword case on its back, and a snow-white longsword with the mark of a large dragon was drawn out. It moved as fast as thunder, as fast as lightning, heading straight for Su Xiaofeng and Su Yoa's heads. Poochie. The two of them did not have the time to defend. They did not even have the time to activate their profound spirit chi. In a flash, their throats were slit, and they fell to the ground dead. Blood splattered all over the floor. Su Huiyu was stunned. Master, you. However, at this moment, the great master wearing half an iron mask rushed forward. Holding a sword that was still stained with blood, he charged towards Su Huiyu. His murderous aura burst forth in an instant, like a dam that had been opened, pouring out in torrents. Su Huiyu was scared out of his wits. In an endless panic, he retreated backwards. Rolling and crawling, he fled. Whoosh! At this moment, a sharp sword flew over and directly struck Su Huiyu's shoulder, causing him to fall onto the ground. Su Huiyu fell to the ground in pain. He hastily got up. However, the pain from his shoulder caused him to gnash his teeth. It was an incomparably unbearable feeling. Who are you? Su Huiyu endured the intense pain and loudly shouted. Robbers. The iron-masked man said calmly. Rob, don't tell me. You're just doing this for money? What else do you think it's for? The iron-masked man said and was about to attack again. If it wasn't a robbery, Su Huiyu's imagination would definitely run wild. When Su Huiyu saw this, fear once again filled his face. However, at this moment, fear was already useless. Immediately, he clung onto his last strand of hope, took out the life-saving treasure his father gave him from the storage ring on his finger, and threw it towards his opponent. A bead the size of an eyeball was thrown out from his hand, flying towards the iron-masked man. The bead was also pitch black, but as it flew, it shone with a strange green light. Under the curtain of the night, it flashed like the eyes of a demon beast. The iron-masked man was startled and hurriedly dodged. The bead fell to the ground, bang, 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 bang. A series of explosions rippled out and engulfed the iron-masked man. The turbulent aura of destruction spread out in all directions like ripples. The surrounding stones were crushed into powder, and the weeds were withered. When Su Huiyu saw this, his face was filled with joy. He hurriedly looked towards the center of the explosion. He saw a figure dashing out from the center of the explosion and rushing towards him. Although he had dodged the explosion, it was clear that he had suffered some injuries. This time, his movements were not as smooth as before. When Su Huiyu saw that the treasure could save his life, how could he have the slightest hesitation? He hurriedly took out something from his storage ring. A scroll appeared. However, this was not an offensive scroll. Instead, it was a scroll that could quickly recover his profound spirit aura in a short period of time. He clenched his teeth and crushed the scroll. Then, he turned around and fled. He pulled out a long and slender saber-like weapon. While circulating his spirit aura, he turned around and attacked the iron-masked man. At the same time, he quickly fled. However, because he was in too much of a hurry, the attacks formed by the spirit aura were always crooked, making it hard for him to hit his target. The iron-masked man did not waste any time. He once again swung his sword. The sharp sword flew like a shuttle, rushing towards Su Huiyu like a rainbow. Su Huiyu's eyes were filled with shock. He hastily dodged. However, he was not fast enough. Poochie! Su Huiyu's leg was immediately hit by the sword. Blood spurted out. He staggered and fell to the ground. He could no longer escape. When the iron-masked man saw this, he quickly rushed over. He raised the engraved dragon sword in his hand and directly stabbed towards Su Huiyu's heart. His movements were fast, ruthless, and decisive. He did not hesitate in the slightest. He did not have the slightest intention of torturing his opponent. He did not even say a single word. He only had one goal: to kill his opponent. Whoosh! In the instant when the sword tip stabbed towards Su Huiyu's entire body suddenly emitted a burst of white light. Then, he quickly disappeared. Void fragmentation importation. The iron-masked man was secretly startled. That was an extremely high-grade, profound skill to protect one's life. It was impossible for Su Huiyu to learn such a profound skill. Furthermore, for him to be able to execute it so quickly, it was most likely because he had activated the Void Fragmentation Importation Scroll. How could an ordinary person possess such a treasure? He was, after all, the son of the Su family's patriarch. Not only did he have a lot of treasures, all of them were of high grade. The iron-masked man stared at Su Huiyu, who had already been sent 100 meters away by the Void Fragmentation Importation. He secretly snorted. The sharp sword in his hand once again flung out. With an astonishing, imposing manner, he charged towards Su Huiyu. The sharp sword was wrapped in a sharp aura. It was like a ferocious dragon crossing the sea. The sand and stones on the ground were blown away by the aura enveloped by the sword. It was like a rocket. Su Huiyu's leg was injured. He could no longer run. Seeing this scene, he was so frightened that his complexion turned pale. A stream of hot air emerged from the crotch of his pants, causing it to become wet. He no longer had any means to resist. In the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint, stop! A roar burst out from within the elemental fire city. Then, a terrifying and suffocating tyrannical aura blew towards this direction like a storm. It collided with the rapidly flying sword. Clang! The flying sword let out a crisp sound. The aura spread out. The sword spun several times in the air. Then, it swayed and fell to the ground. Seeing this, the iron-masked man's expression turned cold. He immediately looked over. He saw a large number of guards rushing out from the elemental fire city's gate. A bearded middle-aged man, wearing a luxurious jade robe, was flying over from the sky. Almighty! The iron-masked man's heart tightened. He secretly activated his pure divine spirit chi and retrieved the engraved dragon blade from the ground. Then, he quickly retreated and ran. Zhu ran. You lead the team and chase after him. The bearded man shouted. Yes, City Master. The captain of the guards, Zhu Ran, replied and rushed over. The bearded city master, Zhou Zibu, quickly walked toward Su Huiyu. Seeing Su Huiyu, who was still trembling on the ground with his pants wet, the city master's brows knitted together. Stabilize his injuries first, Zhou Ziba shouted. Yes. A guard ran over and treated Su Huiyu's wounds. Rings of dense cold water attributed profound spirit qi floated out, immediately stopping the bleeding from the wound. Su Huiyu's twisted face finally relaxed. Thank you for saving me, city master. Su Huiyu took a breath and said weakly. Zhou Ziba nodded. He glanced at the badge on his waist and said, Are you from the interlinked district's Su family? My father is the Su family's patriarch, Su Lixiong. Su Huiyu immediately said. Hearing that, Zhou Zibu frowned. I didn't expect you to be the young master of the Su family. City master, you must capture the person who injured me just now. I will definitely hack him into pieces. Su Huiyu covered his crotch and said while gnashing his teeth. I was patrolling the elemental fire city at night and just happened to pass by the southern gate. I heard explosions coming from the southern gate and just happened to rush over. The guard beside me said you were from the Su family, so I saved you. But I don't know what kind of conflict you have with that person. Why do you want to kill you? Why were the two of you outside the city at such a late hour? This. Su Huiyu didn't know how to answer. He couldn't possibly say that he wanted to trade forbidden medicine with that guy, right? Forbidden medicine was called forbidden medicine. It meant that it was an existence that was forbidden by the continent. If one was associated with it, he would most likely be punished. Every place had its own rules. Even the Su family was no exception. Moreover, buying forbidden medicine was also an extremely shameful thing. I was just taking a stroll outside the city with my two companions. Then we met that person. In the end, that person suddenly attacked us. He planned to kill us and rob us of our belongings. Yes, that's it. Su Huiyu's eyes flickered. Zhou Zibu stared at Su Huiyu's face and didn't say anything for a long time. Su Huiyu's face was covered in sweat, but he didn't dare to look at Zhou Zibu. A moment later, the guard discovered the corpses of Su Xiaofeng and Su Liuha. Zhou Zibu waved his hand and ordered people to take care of the matters here. He also sent Su Huiyu back to the city for treatment. After announcing the strengthening of the city's security, he returned to the elemental fire city. Sigh, city master, aren't you going to issue a warrant for that masked bastard? Seeing Zhou Zibu leaving so quickly, Su Huiyu was unwilling and shouted out, This matter needs to be investigated. I will send people to take care of it. Young Master Su, you should rest and recuperate first. The Purple Star Academy's academic exchange conference will be held soon. The elemental fire city is filled with crooks and honest folk. There have been many cases of fights and killings these days. If every single person is to be wanted, how can the city guards in the elemental fire city be enough? After saying those words, Zhou Zibu directly walked away. He didn't feel like paying any more attention to Su Huiyu. Hearing those words, Su Huiyu's heart was filled with anger. However, he didn't dare to say anything. He could only hope that Zhu Ran, who went to capture the Iron Masked Man, will be able to smoothly capture that person and let him vent his anger. Chapter 75. The guards of Elemental Fire City only chased for a short distance before giving up. The Iron Masked Man was Su Yun. After getting rid of his pursuers, he immediately changed his clothes and returned to Elemental Fire City. It had to be said that the operation this time was too hasty, and he neglected many details. If he killed Su Huiyu in the name of robbery, not only would Qing Er have one less threat, she would no longer be bothered by him. She would also be able to avoid participating in the academic exchange conference. With Su Huiyu's death, the Su family had to investigate this matter. How could they still have the mood to participate in the conference? Although Qing Er would be punished, the main responsibility was not on her. This way, he could easily avoid any mishaps. How could Su Yun not do his best to protect this last person who was his closest relative? Unfortunately, he neglected one point. Su Huiyu was the son of the Su family's patriarch. Although he was the third son, he had received many treasures from his father. Even the other members of the Su family would occasionally give him treasures to please the patriarch. How could the treasures given by the patriarch be bad? Although Su Yun was caught unprepared, at the critical moment, Su Huiyu relied on these treasures to block Su Yun's attack. Taking the 70,000 spirit coins from Su Huiyu, Su Yun went to the Heavenly Sun auction house and bought a batch of top-quality, medicinal ingredients. Then, he returned to the tavern and ate some medicine to heal his wounds. Su Huiyu's treasures were too powerful. Even though he dodged in time, he was still affected and suffered some injuries. However, it was not a big deal. It should not affect him much in the future academic exchange conference. Su Yun did not feel that it was a pity that he did not kill Su Huiyu. After all, he still had a chance. After resting in the guest room for a night, he finally recovered. He did not have much time. Cultivating at this time would not be of much use. After pondering for a while, Su Yun took out the sword sheath. After obtaining Hu Qianmei's talent and absorbing a large amount of triple elemental qi, his cultivation had greatly increased. With his current strength, he should be able to obtain the second sword. As Su Yun thought, he activated the sword arts. The slender black sword sheath did not look very dazzling. However, after it was activated, the entire sword sheath released waves of black light. A dense void, fragmented qi drifted through the entire guest room. With the sword sheath as the boundary, a door extended upwards. After entering this door, one could enter the world within the limitless sword sheath. The sword sheath was activated, and the sword elder was immediately awakened. Boy, are you going to take the sword? Senior, with my current cultivation of 4th stage spirit intermediate disciple, obtaining the second sword should not be difficult, right? Is it difficult or not? The sword elder pondered for a moment and said, Go. I will follow you to prevent you from acting recklessly. This limitless sword sheath is the grave of the sword, and also the grave of the human. If you are not careful, you will be killed by the sword. That is not strange at all. Then I'll have to trouble Senior to guide me. Su Yun nodded. As soon as he finished speaking, he stepped in. Chirp! The surrounding scenery was distorted, and the light suddenly changed. His line of sight suddenly brightened, as if a lamp had been lit up in the darkness. After his vision recovered, the great path of the divine sword appeared in front of him again. In the distance, the palace where the mother sword was buried was faintly discernible like a celestial palace. It was ethereal and difficult to find. Su Yun was still standing at the position where he took the engraved dragon blade. There was no change. Only by taking the mother sword placed in the palace can you go to other places to take other swords. The sword elder spoke. His voice was calm. Brat, you could take the other one. Last time, I told you that this sword is much weaker than the engraved dragon blade in your hand. With your current strength, it will be easy to conquer it. Of course, you can also choose other swords that are stronger. Everything depends on you. Just as the sword elder finished speaking, Su Yun suddenly made his move and grabbed the green sword that was standing beside him. Just that. His hand held the sword hilt, but it did not move. Su Yun frowned and immediately used all of his strength. The long sword lightly trembled, and the sword body that was embedded in the jade ground slowly moved up. This sword's test seems to be relatively simple. You only need to use some strength and perseverance. The sword elder said. Hearing that, Su Yun increased the strength of his qi. Using even more strength, the green sword was quickly pulled out, leaving only the tip of the sword stuck in the jade ground. Clang! Just as the sword tip left the jade ground and was completely pulled out, a cold aura swept across the sword. Sword qi rippled out, and the murderous aura suddenly boiled. Su Yun's heart tightened. He did not even have time to react. He only felt the sword hilt in his hand violently vibrate. Then the green sword left his hand and flew into the air. After a while, the sword blade fiercely cut towards his head. What? Su Yun was secretly surprised. He touched the sword sheath and took out the engraved dragon blade. He directly blocked the green sword. Clang! When the first sword fell, Su Yun's body trembled. The sword seemed to be light and agile, but it seemed to contain the power of 10,000 pounds. The power burst out like a flood. The engraved dragon blade had an illusion that it was going to be cut into pieces. There are still 2 more swords. At this time, the sword elder's voice sounded in Su Yun's mind. 2 swords? Su Yun was surprised. Senior, Do you recognize this sword? Whoosh! The green sword circled around and once again chopped down. Su Yun's pupils dilated. He did not dare to be negligent and raised his sword to block. Kung! As the sword fell, Su Yun's knees almost went soft. He was about to kneel down. It was as if the bones in his body were about to be broken by the power of the green sword. He clenched his teeth. Both of his arms were trembling crazily to support the engraved dragon blade. He resisted the attack of the green sword. Large beads of sweat flowed down his cheeks. It seemed like he would not be able to hold on any longer. Not bad, not bad. The sword elder laughed. There is still one last sword left. Whoosh! The sword smashed down again. Su Yun's eyes widened as he stared at the falling sword. Finally, he growled. He gathered his chi and blocked the sword's edge. But what was unexpected was the engraved dragon blade slashed horizontally, but there was no resistance. Su Yun was surprised. He carefully looked up and saw that the green sword did not attack Su Yun for the third time. Instead, it swayed as it fell from the sky and directly stabbed in front of him. Senior, what is going on? Su Yun was stunned. Didn't you say 3 swords? That's right. The sword elder laughed. But the third sword you smoothly passed. Why? Because if you did not use all your strength to block the third sword, and instead thought of opportunistic dodging or using other methods to deal with it, then the third sword, you would definitely lose. The first 2 swords were a test of your body, and the third sword was a test of your mind. The reason why I said that this sword was easier to conquer was because I felt that these tests were not difficult for you. If the third sword directly fell, I am afraid I would not have been able to withstand it. Su Yun sat on the ground, sweating profusely. He gasped for breath. Ha ha ha, kid. You probably don't know, but the beauty of this sword lies in its power. The person who created this sword divided the sword into 3 grooves. The first groove is roughly the length of the sword hilt. The second groove is 2 inches behind the sword, and the third groove is the rest of the sword. This sword has a sword core, which can automatically produce profound spirit chi. This profound spirit chi will automatically fill the 3 grooves of the sword. When you release a sword, it will consume 1 groove. You can only use this sword for 3 swords. After the 3 swords erupt, it will be no different from an ordinary iron sword. Su Yun had never heard of such a strange sword before. Puzzled, he said, 3 swords? Exploding spirit chi? Senior, the profound spirit chi stored in the sword, grooves exploding. What's so special about it? Hearing this, the sword elder raised his voice by 8 octaves. This special thing, did you not feel it just now? Don't tell me it's the power of the sword. Yes, the profound spirit chi released from the sword core is of the true divine spirit chi attribute. It is very powerful. With 3 swords, it can destroy gold and break stones easily. Hearing this, Su Yun was elated. He quickly pulled out the green sword in front of him, only to see that the sword hilt was engraved with the words 1,000 Deep. 1,000 Deep sword? Good name. Looking at its quality, I am afraid it is at least a high-leveled treasure. Su Yun was reluctant to let go. This sword looked extremely light, but in his hands, it was abnormally heavy. Although it could only be used 3 times in a battle, if it was used well, it could have an unexpected effect. Kid, you took the 1,000 Deep sword. Do you still want to take another sword? The 1,000 Deep sword only consumed some of your energy, right? If you take a simpler sword now, it should not be a problem. At this time, the sword elder asked again. If I have more divine swords to help me, it will be the best. Su Yun's eyes swayed as he looked around. Suddenly, a unique-looking sword appeared in his line of sight. This sword was less than a meter away from him. It was on the right side of the sword dowel. In the middle, there were 2 swords. This sword was completely black and extremely slender. It was about 2 inches wide and 2 feet long. It looked very ordinary. The reason why it attracted Su Yun's attention was because this sword had a scabbard. The sword elder seemed to have noticed Su Yun's gaze. He probed with his spiritual power and asked, "This sword does not emit much sword intent. It seems like it is a very weak sword. So strange, I have never seen this sword before. Is it very weak?" Su Yun nodded. Then I shall take it, and then you try. Su Yun did not hesitate. He immediately extended his hand to grab the sword and pulled it out. Kung Chong. The sound of the sword trembled. The black sword, along with the scabbard, was held in Su Yun's hands. There was no obstruction at all. So easy? Whether it was Su Yun or the sword elder, they were both stunned. However, with the engraved dragon blade as a precedent, both of them knew that it was not simple. Pulling the sword out easily did not mean that the test was easy. Su Yun did not dare to relax. He stared at the black sword. His hand was tightly clenched. He was afraid that it would fly up and attack him again. But after waiting for a stick of incense, there was still no movement. The sword did not release any spiritual attack. It also did not fly up and attack him. It was quietly held by Su Yun. There was no change. What is going on? Does this sword not need to be conquered? Su Yun asked. I'm not sure. The sword elder was also confused. Is there a sword in the sword sheath that does not need to be conquered? I am ashamed to say that I have not conquered many swords in the sword sheath. I have only heard of many swords. The sword elder sighed. Maybe there really is such a sword. Su Yun took a deep breath. He felt good. He had 2 more divine swords. This was a disguised increase in his strength. In this world, treasures were equal to strength. After putting away the 1,000 deep sword, Su Yun looked at the black sword. He saw that there was no name on the black sword. Could it be that the sword was covered by the scabbard? Su Yun was suspicious. He immediately grabbed the scabbard and pulled the sword out. Clang! The black sword was unsheathed. The moment the sword was unsheathed, on the sword, a huge blood-red word appeared in Su Yun's eyes. Die! Wong 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 wong. In the blink of an eye, half of the swords on the sword path suddenly trembled violently. The sound of the swords resonated through the sky. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. They flew out by themselves and circled in the air. In the middle of the sky, they converged into a torrent. The sword intent spread out and covered the sky. After accumulating their chi, all the divine swords rushed towards Su Yun. It was as if a dragon was crazily rushing. Chapter 76. Hundreds of swords flew out and attacked one point. This scene was terrifying. Su Yun's face turned pale as he hastily retreated. In the face of so many swords, how could he possibly resist? Quickly return the sword. At this time, the sword elder's roar suddenly exploded in his ears. Su Yun's body trembled as he quickly put the black sword back into the scabbard. However, at this moment, he felt that it was very difficult to put the black sword back into the scabbard. It was as if there was a resistance inside the scabbard that was pushing the sword and not letting it enter the scabbard. Could it be that if the scabbard did not return, the 100 swords would not be able to calm down? Thinking of this, Su Yun did not dare to hesitate anymore. Using all his strength, he desperately thrust the sword into the scabbard. Ah! He issued a low and deep roar like a beast. His whole body was bursting with blue veins. His profound spirit chi was like a high-speed motor that was madly rotating. He simply could not stop. His profound spirit chi surged in all directions. The surging power was pushed to the limit. Su Yun saw that the black sword was neither fast nor slow as it slowly returned to the scabbard. The 100 swords are getting closer and closer. The ever-changing sword intent was getting fiercer and fiercer. Su Yun did not dare to look, nor did he have the time to look. He opened his eyes wide and stared at the weapon named Death Sword. He stared at the sword that was gradually entering the scabbard. Faster, faster, faster. The sword elder was also very nervous. He constantly urged Su Yun in his ear. His voice was full of urgency. Su Yun's arms trembled. He held the scabbard in one hand and the sword in the other. Sweat dripped down his body like raindrops. Be careful. At this time, the sword elder loudly shouted. The 100 swords were approaching. The cold sword intent was like a steel needle that pierced through the skin of a person. In less than a breath of time, Su Yun would be bombarded by the 100 swords. However, Kung Chong, the black sword, was back in the scabbard. Su Yun was instantly relieved. His whole body softly fell to the ground and gasped for breath. He looked again and saw that the 100 swords were only 2 inches away from him. But at this moment, they were all frozen, motionless, floating in the air. Seeing this, Su Yun shivered and broke out in a cold sweat. If he had been even a step slower, it would have been difficult to reverse the situation. Was it successful? Su Yun weakly raised the black sword in his hand, and his mouth curved into a smile. Although I don't know what kind of weapon it is, judging from the test, it must be extraordinary. This might be a primal sword. The sword elder thought for a moment, and said with an uncertain tone, "Primal sword? What kind of sword was that?" Ding, dang, dang, dang. At this moment, the hundreds of flying swords let out a series of ear-piercing noises. Then, they turned around and flew back to their original positions. The 100 swords returned to their positions. It was truly a bizarre and dazzling world of swords. Su Yun sighed in his heart. He struggled to stand up. Looking at the pitch-black weapon in his hand, he couldn't help but feel suspicious. Could it be that this sword could control those hundreds of swords? Was that all its power was? Clang! Just as Su Yun was thinking, the death sword in his hand suddenly unsheathed, and with a speed that Su Yun had never seen before, it rushed toward Su Yun. "Be careful!" Roar! However, in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, he was unable to react at all. Poochie! The black sword pierced his body. Su Yun did not understand what was going on. In front of him, his eyes turned black, and the surrounding space distorted as if the illusion had collapsed. When he reappeared, he was already back in the inn. He stood in front of the sword sheath, stunned. His chest was pierced by the death sword, and blood flowed out. After a long time, he recovered from the shock. "You're lucky. That sword did not kill you. It simply drove you out of the sword sheath as a warning." "Lucky, you're so lucky." The sword elder seemed to have reacted, and opened his mouth to say, "Warning?" Su Yun clutched his aching chest, and quickly sat down cross-legged. He swallowed the best quality healing medicine, stopped the bleeding, and healed his wound. Then he asked, "Elder, that primal sword, what is it?" "That is a special sword that randomly appeared in the world of the sword sheath." "Special sword type." "Yes, special sword type." The sword elder pondered for a moment, and said, "In this sword sheath, there are 108,000 swords. Every one of them has a spirit. Swords have a spirit. They're living things. There are more than 100,000 swords, and among them, there's always a righteous and righteous sword. This kind of sword, with righteous and righteous heart, subdued the surrounding swords, and made the surrounding swords look at it in a new light, and regard it as their leader. But there's another kind of sword that is awe-inspiring, sinister, and vicious. This kind of sword is extremely sinister, cunning, and crafty. It uses force to subdue the surrounding swords, and make them bow to it, and be used by it. Any sword that does not obey it will be suppressed by it. The swords in the sword sheath cannot be destroyed, but they can be robbed of their power. Most of the suppressed swords will be stripped of their power, and become the lowest sword. Whether it is a Shinsha sword or a demonic sword, they are all called primal swords, and these primal swords will evolve in a few days. Evolve? Su Yun's heart jumped, and hurriedly asked, "Is it evolving into a primal sword?" "No, it can't be a divine sword, right? That is even more impossible. However, they will become the extremely rare 4th type of sword in the sword sheath. It is called the extreme sword." "Extreme sword?" "Yes. But regarding the extreme sword, I do not understand. This is what my master told me, and I have never come into contact with a real situation." After Su Yun heard this, he pondered for a moment, and asked, "Then does Senior know if that sword is an immortal or a demon?" "What's its name?" "Death sword." "Looking at its evil chi, it is most likely a demonic sword. But if it was a demonic sword, it would have already killed you. How could it just stab you and not kill you? How could you possibly come out?" The sword elder was suspicious. "Once the sword is pulled out of the sheath, the test will begin. But once the sword is out of the sheath, the conquered swords will automatically attack me. Putting it back into the sheath can only stabilize the swords, but it will not pass the test. It will also launch a sneak attack. If I can avoid this sneak attack, maybe I can conquer this sword." Su Yun said. You think it is too simple. If it launches a sneak attack, the sword will be out of the sheath. Then, you will not only have to face its sneak attack, but also the swords that will attack you again. With 100 swords flying together, you can only move in a small area. Can you avoid it? The sword elder sighed. I think you should not think about conquering this sword. After all, it is a primal sword. It is second only to the primal sword. Your strength is not strong enough. It is better to take the other swords first. Su Yun lowered his head and thought about something. His eyes flashed with a strange light, but he did not speak. After a long time, he woke up from his thoughts. Forget it. Let's not think about it. Let's treat my wounds first. In the future, I will have to move. If I am injured, it will only be disadvantageous. As Su Yun said this, he untied the robe on his body. The pills that he swallowed earlier had the effect of stopping the bleeding, but it still needed a few days. This sword wound was not shallow. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been bedridden. It would take at least half a year to heal. But with these pills, he could recover in a few days. At this moment, Su Yun did not even have a few days. He needed to recover immediately. During the operation, he could not afford to make any mistakes. Otherwise, he would lose his own life. After removing his robe, Su Yun sat cross-legged with his upper body naked. He wanted to treat his wounds. However, a shocking scene appeared. He looked at the sword wound on his chest. It was actually dark. It was as if he was poisoned. A dark smoke overflowed from the wound. This dark place was still spreading around, almost covering the entire left side of his chest. Even so, Su Yun did not feel the slightest bit of pain. There was nothing strange. What happened? Su Yun's pupils dilated. He quickly used his profound spirit chi to rush to the left side of his chest. He intended to investigate. But when his profound spirit chi rushed over, it was blocked by an invisible wall. The entire left side of his chest was completely isolated. Gradually, Su Yun's face became pale. The dark shadow on his left chest slowly moved. A terrifying ghost eye appeared. Brat, what happened to you? Why is it so cold? I feel like I am in an ice house in the limitless sword arts. It is very uncomfortable. The sword elder was shocked. He hastily used his spirit sense. Who knew that when he used his spirit sense, he was shocked? Why is the wound like this? Senior, I feel that this dark shadow is slowly eroding my body. My profound spirit chi is unable to block it. I don't feel uncomfortable, but I feel that I can't control this body. Su Yun clenched his teeth and said. At this time, his profound spirit chi was still attacking the dark shadow wall again and again. But the effect was minimal. Evil sword. Evil sword. It really is an evil sword. Brat, you have eaten the Tao of the death sword. The sword elder whispered. What? Su Yun was stunned. After the evil sword injured you, it did not kill you. It deliberately let you go. It is not because it is merciful to let you go. It is because it wants to seize your body and become a true sword spirit. Sword, spirit, Su Yun was stunned. This wound is endowed with its original power. Now, the death sword is using its original power to erode your body. If it completely erodes your body, then you will completely lose the initiative of this body. Your own thoughts, soul, consciousness, and so on will all be sealed and imprisoned by it. You will be replaced by it. It will use the sword as a guide and become a spirit. It will become the only special existence in a limitless sword sheath. You've encountered an incredibly evil sword. When the sword elder said this, there was a desolate and regretful feeling of pain. Su Yun's eyes flashed with a trace of hatred. Senior, what method do you have? No, there is no solution. Unless you can ask for the help of an expert before its power erodes you. Temporarily suppress its eroding power. But this is only temporary. Moreover, the cultivation of the expert must be at least 10th stage spirit core disciple. The sword elder sighed. Now that time is pressing. Coupled with my current situation, how can I find an expert to help me? Not to mention that 10th stage spirit core disciple can only be found by chance. It is impossible to find one in a short period of time. The sword elder did not speak. Obviously, He was at his wit's end. No matter who it was, they did not expect that the black sword would have such a terrifying method. Is this the sword of the sword tomb? It is really worthy of the word God. Suyin calmed down. The panic on his face had disappeared without a trace. Voila. At this time, the limitless sword sheath was once again activated. The sword elder was startled. He anxiously shouted, "Boy, what are you doing?" Live, standing in front of the sword sheath, Su Yun whispered, You. Currently, there's only one way to prevent the death sword from invading my body." Su Yun stepped forward and jumped in. That was to conquer it. Chapter 77. Voila! His field of vision changed. The demon immediately turned into a sparkling and translucent immortal palace of swords with a misty, immortal aura. A gentle wind blew. In front of him, the straight and slender path formed by the divine swords was reflected in his eyes. 1 meter away, the pitch-black death sword, which was sheathed in its scabbard, stood quietly on the right side of the sword railing. Su Yun's gaze turned cold as he stared at the sword. One man, one sword silent. Suddenly, he grabbed the death sword with one hand, while his other hand reached into the sword sheath. Clipchamp, the engraved dragon blade, appeared. Looking at Su Yun's arm, before the black shadow covered his arms, he gathered all the profound spirit chi that was attacking the black shadow wall. A portion of it wrapped around the death sword, while the other portion rushed towards the engraved dragon blade. Surrounded by the extremely dense, pure divine spirit chi, the engraved dragon blade burst out with a terrifying aura. It was as white as snow and overflowed in all directions. Buzz, 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 the sound of the sword resonated. Su Yun stared at the death sword. Suddenly, he swung his arm and threw the death sword into the air. Then, holding the engraved dragon blade with both of his hands, he used all the chi in his body and slashed towards the death sword. Kacha, kacha, kacha! As if it felt threatened, the engraved dragon blade suddenly trembled. The engraved dragon blade roared. The sword intent was like a mountain pressing down on the death sword. But at that moment, the death sword suddenly unsheathed itself. Clipchamp, 100 swords resonated. The hundreds of flying swords that were subdued by the death sword immediately flew into the sky and released their sword intent. Bringing with them an endless amount of chi, they flew towards Su Yun. Dang! The death sword that was unsheathed was ruthlessly cut down by the engraved dragon blade. The sword sheath and blade fell to the ground. Su Yun held onto the engraved dragon blade and slashed again. Dang! 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 The engraved dragon blade that was covered with pure divine spirit chi fiercely slashed towards the death sword's blade. Sparks exploded as the sword intents collided. The intense battle unfolded. The death sword was struck until it trembled incessantly. The engraved dragon blade also trembled violently. Seeing Su Yun's crazy scene, the sword elder completely understood Su Yun's intention. He did not want to conquer the death sword, but he wanted to destroy the death sword. Kid, this. The sword elder was completely speechless as he felt Su Yun's movements. This kind of scene had already made him dumbfounded. At this moment, to Su Yun, it was a matter of life and death. He was completely reckless. Without the slightest bit of mercy, the aura of the pure divine attribute was completely taken out. Not a single drop was spilled. The 100 swords flew over. This time, the 100 swords flew even faster and even more ferocious. With such a stance, they wanted to completely destroy Su Yun. Kacha! Suddenly, the death sword body released a light sound, and a crack appeared on the sword body. He never thought that Su Yun would actually cut open a crack on the death sword's blade. When the crack appeared, the 100 flying swords trembled violently, and all the flying swords slowed down by several times. They swayed in the air as if they were about to fall. Seeing that, Su Yun became even more ruthless and waved his sword again. Clang! Just then, the death sword on the ground flew up by itself and spun in the air. Like a wheel of fire, it slashed towards Su Yun's head. The overflowing sword dyed his entire body. He fell from the sky like a small, pitch-black sun. So, the engraved dragon sword was raised into the air, blocking the death sword's attack. Clang! The two swords collided once again. But this time, the death sword seemed to have released all of its power. The pitch-black sword body overflowed with a large amount of black chi, directly attacking the pure divine spirit chi wrapped around the engraved dragon sword. The two chi mutually attacked, but the pure divine spirit chi was clearly at a disadvantage. After a few rounds, it was dispersed by the black chi. Then, a terrifying scene appeared. The engraved dragon sword blade was suddenly dyed by the black chi, turning into a pitch-black color, and then, kacha, kacha kacha. The entire engraved dragon sword's blade split open, and after an ear-piercing clang-dang sound, the engraved dragon sword actually broke into pieces and completely shattered. When a divine sword is destroyed, it will automatically enter the sword tomb to hibernate. The lower the grade of the divine sword, the shorter the period of hibernation. You have temporarily lost the engraved dragon sword. The sword elder shouted. Suyin did not care about his words. The engraved dragon sword turned into a white light and landed at the place where the sword was previously drawn. Su Yun's hands were empty. How could he contend against the death sword? Even if the engraved dragon sword blade was split open, it could still be easily dealt with. No wonder the death sword was able to conquer so many divine swords and become the primal sword. It was actually so powerful. After breaking the engraved dragon sword, the death sword did not stop. It seemed to be completely enraged by Su Yun's actions. The sword tip fell straight down without any mercy. In the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint, Su Yun's feet tapped on the ground, and with a leap, he moved backwards, dodging the attack. Bang! The death sword crashed onto the ground and fell onto the jade path. The entire jade path was split open, and black smoke pervaded the air. Kung Chong. Another sword was taken out from a sword sheath. It was the newly subdued Thousand Deep Sword. Before the death sword could attack again, Su Yun took out Thousand Deep Sword and attacked. One sword, Kung Chong. Thousand Deep Sword flickered with a snow-white light, and true divine spirit chi was released. Dong! Like a divine bull shaking the ground, the earth quaked, and the entire jade ground shook. The death sword's imposing manner was pushed back by 30%. But it did not give up. The death sword that was stabbed into the jade ground suddenly changed. The death word carved on the sword body flickered for a moment. Following that, the black smoke rose again. This time, it was like a spiraling black dragon, revolving around the death sword's body. Su Yun's gaze was blazing as he stared at the sword. What technique is this? He did not know, but at that moment, he not only had hatred for the sword, he also had a greed that was beyond the comprehension of mortals. A strong sword, a strong treasure, that represented a strong power. What did he lack the most? Power. If he had the help of this sword, why would he fear the Su family? Why would he fear the profound sky sect? Thinking about that, Su Yun's heart was once again filled with madness, and an uncontrollable obsession rose. His breathing became hurried, and his pupils slowly turned red. His mind was in a trance, as though he was about to lose control. Hua la. The 100 flying swords that were on the verge of falling stabilized once again. The sword tips were all aimed towards Su Yun's direction, and with a whooshing sound, they pierced towards him. The 100 swords were like 100 dragons, brushing against the wind and the chi, sweeping everything in their path. Bang! Just at this moment, the Thousand Deep Sword slashed towards the death sword again. The death sword trembled crazily, as though it had reached its limit. But at that moment, even though it was shaken by the attack, it did not stop the flying swords that were controlled by it. At this moment, the death sword actually wanted to perish together with Su Yun. One man and one sword would not rest until one of them was dead. Third sword. Quick, brat. I'm afraid the death sword will not be able to withstand it. Destroy it, and you will be cured of your strange illness. Destroy it, and you will live. Quick, third sword. Quick. The sword elder, who had been observing everything with his spiritual sense, shouted with a roaring voice. Even though he wasn't the one who was fighting, he was extremely anxious at this moment. Under the pressure of life and death, Su Yun did not dare to hide anything. But at this crucial moment, he did not unleash the third sword. Instead, he loosened his grip on the thousand-deep sword and threw it to the ground. What? The sword elder was petrified. Abandoning the sword at this moment? What was he doing? In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Su Yun suddenly grabbed the death sword that was stuck in the ground with one hand and quickly picked up the sword sheath with the other. With extreme speed, he sheathed the death sword back into the sword sheath. Wah! The 100 swords stopped, as though a pause button had been pressed. The 100 swords carried a surging sword aura. Due to inertia, it was like a huge wave hitting Su Yun's body, drowning him. How is this possible? The sword elder was dumbstruck. His throat seemed to have gone hoarse. He could not speak for a long time. Su Yun panted frantically. He half knelt on the ground, one hand holding onto the sword hilt, the other holding onto the sword sheath. He was still using his last bit of strength. The death sword was suddenly sheathed by Su Yun. The 100 swords stopped flying, but it did not surrender. It started to struggle continuously. The sword sheath trembled, as though the death sword was trying to escape. But Su Yun held onto the sword sheath tightly, not letting it have the slightest chance. "Senior, quick, help me." Just then, Su Yun shouted with difficulty. "Help? This?" The sword elder was hesitant. "Senior, quick, or else I will not be able to suppress it," Su Yun shouted. He was already an arrow at the end of its flight. If the sword elder did not make a move, Su Yun would definitely lose. "That's good." Seeing this, the sword elder did not hesitate anymore. He immediately urged his strength. Using the limitless sword arts as a guide, he instilled his own strength into the sword. In an instant, Su Yun's withered body was somewhat nourished. With the help of the sword elder, the death sword was completely suppressed. No matter how much it struggled, it could not break free from Su Yun's suppression. Su Yun was an arrow at the end of its flight, and so was the death sword. But Su Yun still had the help of the sword elder, so the death sword could not do anything. Just like that, after a stick of incense, the death sword finally calmed down. "Is it over?" Su Yun was still holding onto the sword hilt as he whispered. "It should be," the sword elder said. After that, Su Yun's eyes turned black and he fainted. When he woke up, he was already back at the inn. The surroundings were quiet. The sword sheath was still by his side, but next to the sword sheath, there was a black sword. The sword was like a scabbard. Its entire body was engraved with demonic patterns. There were no other colors. "You're awake." Feeling that Su Yun had opened his eyes, the sword elder's slightly weak voice sounded out again. "Thank you, senior. This time, it has been hard on you," Su Yun said apologetically. The sword elder quickly said, "Don't be in such a hurry to thank me. The result of this matter is not as good as you think it is." Su Yun's eyes flashed with doubt. "Senior, what do you mean?" "What do I mean? You can pick up the death sword and see for yourself," the sword elder said. Hearing this, Su Yun quickly walked over and picked up the death sword. "Senior, there seems to be nothing wrong. Try pulling out the sword elder said. Su Yun immediately grabbed the sword hilt and suddenly pulled. But the death sword seemed to be one with the scabbard. No matter how much strength he used, he could not pull it out. What is going on? Su Yun was shocked. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.